Chapter 241. C241 Yi Junline, there is a traitor. As Elder Wei and his party entered the wasteland state, a strong momentum surged and spread. Rumble. Everywhere along the way, the grass and trees were silent. Countless cultivators stared blankly at the 500 figures surrounded by brilliant fairy light, flying through the air like a meteor shower. They were shocked. Has the outside world developed to this point? Judging from this direction, are they planning to visit Xuantian sect? In the current East region, since the destruction of Yuha sect, the title of the top 10 immortal sects has fallen to Xuantian sect, followed by Xuanji sword sect, and then Dao Dao sect. So, when 500 immortals suddenly appeared and rushed to Xuantian sect in a hurry, everyone subconsciously thought that they must be going to visit Senior Yi. It's impossible that they are looking for trouble, right? Who would be so stupid? Elder Wei, I saw Xuantian sect. One of the fellow disciples said excitedly. Haha, all of you keep a close eye on me, don't let that Yi and his disciples run away. Yes, at this time, 500 immortals approached the territory of Xuantian sect with overwhelming power. The two disciples in charge of guarding the mountain gate felt their scalps tingling, and their faces were filled with doubt. Don't panic, they must be here to visit our master Yi Feng. The tall man said confidently. That makes sense, the short man suddenly realized. After all, everyone in the outside world knows that Master Yi Feng slaughtered 1 billion immortals from outside the domain and drove away the Thunder Tribulation. With such an awesome record, who would have the brain to come and cause trouble? These 500 immortals must have come here to ask for advice. Those who understand will understand. Don't stop, let's just rush in, and we won't scare them to death. Elder Wei raised a playful smile at the corner of his mouth. The other fellow disciples immediately understood and were very excited. Swish, just when these 500 immortals were about to break into Xuantian sect, a golden light curtain formed, blocking them all outside. What's going on? Elder Wei's face was full of doubt. He could feel that this light curtain came from an exquisite defensive formation that could resist the attack of the immortals. This wave of carelessness. Unexpectedly, this Xuantian sect has such a powerful formation master. Could it be that the so-called Senior Yi also made it? If the other party knew the danger, they would definitely hide in this Xuantian sect. What can they do with their large numbers? Thinking of this, Elder Wei began to feel tricky. I am sorry for not welcoming you, all the immortals. I guess you are here to visit my junior brother Yi. Suddenly, the head of Fusion Peak, who was responsible for the formation hub, walked out, with a smile on his fat face, his eyes narrowed into a slit, and he bowed his hands happily. In his opinion, it was a very face-saving thing for Xuantian sect that so many immortals came to visit. Hearing this, the 500 immortals of Kangming Dao sect were stunned, and their faces became interesting. We came all the way here to visit that Yi. This fat guy has such a big face. Just when many elders were about to get angry, the leading Elder Wei immediately signaled with his eyes, warning them not to talk nonsense. Then, a gleam of brilliance flashed in the eyes of Elder Wei, and he bowed to the head of Fusion Peak, smiling and said. Yes, we came here specifically to ask Senior Yi a few questions, and I hope you can make it convenient. Although it would be embarrassing to say this to an ant who has not yet become an immortal, if it can be exchanged for trust and enter Xuantian sect. This wave will be worth it. Anyway, when they get in, they can start a killing spree. So that's it, I understand. The head of Fusion Peak nodded, smiling naively. He did not doubt what Elder Wei said, mainly because in his cognition, it is impossible for someone to be stupid enough to come here to cause trouble. Isn't it good to be alive? Elder Wei smiled kindly, and secretly said in his heart, you know nothing. The head of Fusion Peak waved his hand, and the golden protective shield was removed. Elder Wei was stunned. Good guy, he actually believed it. My fellow immortals, my junior brother Yi will stay in Piaomiao Peak, I will take you there. The head of Fusion Peak said in a friendly manner. He was very proud to be able to lead the way for 500 immortals. At this moment, Elder Wei and the others realized that the so-called Senior Yi was the head of Piaomiao Peak. Elder Wei, keep calm, that Yi is also an immortal, and he is also proficient in formations. Let's go over and take him down first. This will be safer. As expected of Elder Wei, he is thoughtful. After these people secretly transmitted the message, they forced themselves to suppress the murderous intent in their hearts. Immediately afterwards, the head of Fusion Peak led 500 immortals and swaggered into the sect. Along the way, his face was flushed, and he introduced the various buildings and facilities of the sect in a torrent of words, his tone full of pride. My fellow immortals, this is the competition arena of my Xuantian sect. There is the mission hall over there, and the sutra library is on the mountain on the left. As for Elder Wei and his companions, after entering Xuantian sect, they were all stunned by the cultivation environment here. Fairy air, such a rich fairy air. How is it possible? The concentration of fairy air here is higher than that of our Kangming Dao sect. How can a small sect have such conditions? Damn, it makes me want to join them. Feeling the unprecedented concentration of fairy air, this group of immortals who thought they had seen the world were deeply shocked. Elder Wei's eyes were burning, and his throat gurgled as he swallowed saliva. He remembered that Kangming Dao sect had gone through so much trouble to gather 100 immortal veins recently, which was already a good standard in the central region. As a result, compared with Xuantian sect, it was nothing. With such a rich immortal aura, there must be 800 or 900 immortal veins here, right? As his thoughts turned, Elder Wei's eyes were red as blood, and he was already jealous and crazy in his heart. Why do these lowly ants enjoy such a superior environment for cultivating immortals? Kill, they must be killed. Everyone, I understand your feelings. When we clear out everyone here, this place will belong to my Kangming Dao sect. Be patient, Elder Wei reminded. Everyone nodded and looked at each other, and they could see their greed in their eyes. The disciples and elders around them felt a strong sense of pride when they saw the master of Fusion Peak leading 500 immortals straight in. Did you see it? This group of immortals are all here to visit Xuantian sect. My fellow immortals, that is Piao Miao Peak. Junior brother Yi usually stays there. You guys should go quickly. The head of Fusion Peak said enthusiastically. Now, go. Hearing this, Elder Wei shouted, his voice full of excitement that he could not hide. Swish, swish, swish. A powerful figure surrounded by 500 immortal lights rushed into Piao Miao Peak with great momentum. The head of Fusion Peak was stunned and said with a strange look, so impatient. Are you in a hurry to reincarnate? Piao Miao Peak. Yi Junlin and his friends had just finished enjoying the rich and delicious food when they saw the aura of hundreds of immortals gathering. Huh, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. When did so many immortals appear out of thin air in the sect? It was a bit unexpected. Master, they don't seem to be from our sect. Li Wuji said in surprise when he saw the purple costumes of these immortals. Wait, it looks a bit like. Li Wuji remembered that Chen Jizhi, whom he had killed before, was also wearing the same clothes. He suddenly widened his eyes in surprise and blurted out subconsciously, fuck. This is someone from Kangming Dao sect. Yi Junlin, by the way, how did he cleverly bypass the formation I set up and sneak in all the way to my residence? Could it be, there is a traitor? Chapter 242. C242 Red Cloth Disaster. At this moment, 500 immortals surrounded Yi Junlin and his men, grinning, hee hee, you can't run away now. Elder Wei completely tore off his hypocritical face, and scanned the men with fierce eyes. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly noticed an extremely eye-catching figure in red. Elder Wei thought he was hallucinating, and even rubbed his eyes, staring again with wide eyes. After repeatedly confirming that it was correct, his pupils shrank into needles in horror, and a chill ran down his spine from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. His skull was almost opened, and the blood flowing in his body froze into his bones, and he felt a deep chill from the inside out. There was no mistake. It was him, it was him. This iconic red dress, the beautiful face that even women would envy, and the cold and indifferent temperament, all showed that the other party was the big devil who had caused chaos in the central region back then. Wei, Elder Wei, that person seems to be. At the same time, many fellow disciples were terrified and said in an uncertain tone. Elder Wei's forehead was covered with beads of sweat, and his face was as pale as paper. Yes, you are not mistaken, he appeared. The former leader of the fire-worshipping demon cult, the Red Demon Hong Chenny. When this honorific title was mentioned again, Elder Wei and his friends couldn't help but recall the bloody and extremely tragic immortal battle that year. I still remember that when the red-clothed figure descended in a supreme posture, the monstrous world-destroying demon flames swept the earth, and the righteous coalition suffered heavy casualties and the people were devastated. Under the siege of the immortals, they barely defeated him. Later, he disappeared completely and his whereabouts were unknown. Unexpectedly, after many years, I actually saw this terrible big demon here. Because he wore a striking red robe and could release the world-destroying flames comparable to natural disasters, countless strong men in the central region at that time called him in awe. Red-robed natural disaster. These 4 short words weighed on the hearts of many people like a huge mountain, making them breathless. Every time he appeared, it foreshadowed killing. Hong Chenny laughed and glanced at the 500 immortals with a playful look, and finally fell on Elder Wei who was leading the group. I remember you. When the righteous coalition attacked me, you, as an immortal, hid in the rear and kept shouting slogans. Tisk tisk, you are even more timid than a mouse. Elder Wei was ashamed of this dark history. He couldn't help wiping his cold sweat and said with a smile, Master Hong, I shouted, but I didn't do anything to you, right? Don't want to, or don't dare. Hong Chenny said meaningfully. Elder Wei's heart trembled. To be honest, he had finally achieved immortality. As a newly promoted true immortal, he could not compare with Hong Chenny, who was a true immortal of the ninth heaven. The other party could burn him to slag with just one encounter. In this fearful state, Elder Wei had to hide in the rear and shout slogans. Facts have proved that his approach was right. When the battle started, at least hundreds of true immortals rushed to the front and were burned to death, with no complete corpses. Later, it was the Holy Lord of the Taichu Holy Land who used the immortal weapon to suppress Hong Chenny and began to turn the tide of the battle, otherwise the death toll would be even higher. Elder Wei has always been very grateful for his actions back then. Later, when he talked about this famous battle with others, he would brag about how brave and fearless he was, and how he fought the leader of the fire-worshipping demon cult for 300 rounds and was evenly matched. After all, the mouth is on your body, so you can say whatever you want. It's not illegal to brag. The most important thing is that many people in the sect believed his lies, and he became very popular and rose to prominence. Now, being exposed by Hong Chenny, Elder Wei felt ashamed, because he had already felt the contemptuous eyes of many fellow disciples. How embarrassing. Hong, senior brother Hong, so you are from the central region? Or the leader of some demon sect? After learning the truth, Li Wuji said with a shocked face. It turned out that there was a hidden boss beside him. It was too much, he actually kept it secret until now. Knowing that his identity was completely exposed, Hong Chenny looked at Yi Junlin with a complicated expression, Master, actually You don't need to explain, when I accepted you as a disciple, I already knew your origins. Yi Junlin waved his hand, looking indifferent. In the system panel, all secrets are exposed. The leader of the demon sect, the former giant of the central region, this identity may be a hot potato in the hands of others, but in his eyes, it is nothing but clouds. Hong Chenny was very surprised. So you already knew it? But thinking of the other party's identity as the immortal emperor, he suddenly felt relieved. He is your master. Elder Wei took a breath and exclaimed in disbelief. Could it be that this silver-haired young man is the master of the Piaomiao Peak of the Xuantian sect, the senior Yi mentioned by the Eastern region cultivators? Even the extremely cruel and ruthless leader of the fire-worshipping demon sect in the past is willing to be his disciple. How terrible can his methods be? Suddenly, hundreds of horrified eyes gathered on Yi Junlin. Hissing and gasping sounds filled all directions. Yi Junlin was annoyed and interrupted. Hey, that's enough. The whole audience was silent. Elder Wei and the others were so scared that they shut their mouths. After all, this is a terrifying existence that even the red demon is willing to obey. It can be seen that you didn't know that I would be here. The reason why you came here must be because of what happened at Shiwanxian Mountain, right? Hong Chenny sneered. Yes, you must be here to cause trouble. Li Wuji drew out his knife and pointed it at him angrily. What he was most angry about was not because of the revenge of the 500 immortals, but because his limelight was completely stolen. You know, he killed the person. Elder Wei and the others were so frightened that their faces turned pale and they were moaning inwardly. They were clearly surrounded, so why did it feel like being surrounded by these people? This is too unlucky. Who knows, this sect can be so outrageous. If we are not here for revenge, but actually here because of his fame, specifically to talk to this senior Yi, will you believe it? Elder Wei said with a serious face. The fat man who brought us here just now can testify. In the distance, poof, the master of Fu Zhen Peak suddenly sneezed, a look of surprise appeared on his fat face, and he felt very depressed in his heart. After all, he is also a person who has cultivated in the tribulation realm. How can he still sneeze for no reason? The master of Fu Zhen Peak thought of something, turned his head and looked at the mist-shrouded Piaomiao Peak, patted his big belly, and said with emotion. They must be getting along very well now. Misty Peak. Hong Chenny sneered disdainfully. Do you think we will believe it? Elder Wei was about to cry but had no tears, and begged for mercy. Please, Master Hong, I will never dare to come again next time. When I go back, I will say that I didn't see anything. Hong Chenny looked at Yi Junlin, who was unmoved. Understood in seconds. Oh, Hong Chenny slowly rose up and said playfully to these immortals, don't worry, you will die soon. Hear the words. Elder Wei's heart skipped a beat and he shouted angrily. Don't be so shameless. Do you still think you are the big devil back then? Let me tell you, times have changed, and even I have cultivated to the 9th level of the true immortal. If we really fight, we have the strength in numbers, you and your master may not be able to win over us. That's right. The other sect members were filled with indignation and planned to fight to the death. Although I am afraid, it is better than sitting still and waiting for death. If you want to fight, fight. Really. Hong Chenny showed a meaningful smile, and a terrifying cultivation aura erupted from his body, which could cover the 500 true immortals present in an instant. Fuck. Elder Wei's head was buzzing, and the expression on his face was incredible. Is there any mistake? This realm is almost Xuanxian, right? It turns out that even after so many years, the positions of both parties have not changed. People are knives and soldiers, and I am fish and meat. Chapter 243. C243 I can't let me bear this loss alone. When Hong Chenny burst out with a powerful aura of cultivation, Elder Wei and his companions, who had originally planned to fight to the death, were like eggplants hit by frost, with no fighting spirit and deep despair in their eyes. How can we fight this? So they came all the way here to die. Well, since you want to kill us all, don't blame us for dying together with the ants here. In despair, a crazy idea flashed through Elder Wei's mind, and he roared hysterically. As soon as the voice fell, cracks like broken ceramics began to appear all over his body, and countless bright fairy lights burst out from the cracks. It seemed that there was some extremely terrifying energy in his body that was about to explode. This was to self-destruct the fairy source. That's right, we will die together. The other 499 fellow disciples saw this scene and knew that there was no room for redemption. Their expressions became completely crazy, and they roared continuously, mobilizing the fairy source in their bodies to detonate. Swish. At this moment, the bodies of the 500 immortals were almost broken, as if 500 golden suns were rising far away on Piaomiao Peak, emitting a destructive energy aura. What happened? The disciples and elders were furious on the spot, with a sense of déjà vu facing death. The master of Fusion Peak was stunned. This was very different from the harmonious picture he expected. Piaomiao Peak. When approaching the edge of the explosion, Elder Wei rushed towards Hong Chenny with a ferocious face, like a moth to a flame, and roared. Devil, you forced me to do this. He felt that with the self-explosion of 500 immortals, the destructive power would definitely raze Xuantian sect to the ground. This was a helpless move when being forced into a desperate situation. People either explode in silence or perish in silence. Elder Wei chose the former. Anyway, I have to drag someone down with me when I die. Faced with this crisis scene, Hong Chenny showed no panic at all, and his eyes were full of strong mockery. Childish. As he said this, he waved his sleeves as if to shoo away a fly. This seemingly simple action contained unimaginable changes. In a flash of lightning, Elder Wei and his group of fellow disciples all felt great terror at this moment, because in the invisible, it seemed that some kind of absolute power was covering them, not only forcibly sealing the immortal source that they wanted to self-destruct, but even annihilating their bodies and souls. The shrill screams rang out everywhere. Elder Wei and his group were bathed in the blazing flames, and then they turned into ashes visibly, disappearing forever between heaven and earth. 500 true immortals can be destroyed by waving their sleeves. You know, it is difficult for even a mysterious immortal to quickly seal the immortal source of 500 true immortals. Unfortunately, Hong Chenny passed the strongest 8 or 9 thunder tribulations, and the quality of his immortal power reached the 7th grade. On the surface, he was a celestial immortal of the 9th heaven, but his actual strength was comparable to that of an immortal king. Therefore, in front of this absolute power, Elder Wei and his men had no room to resist and could only let it be. Brother Hong, you are so strong now. Seeing Hong Chenny waving his sleeves and wiping out 500 immortals from the world, Li Wuji's heart was full of envy and yearning, and he sighed sincerely. Hearing this, Hong Chenny pretended to be calm and indifferent, with a hint of imperceptible complacency at the corner of his mouth. Really, why didn't I feel it? Hearing this, Li Wuji's mouth twitched a few times, and he secretly said in his heart. Good guy, you are still pretending. But there is no way, who let him have this qualification now? For this kind of emergency, Yi Junlin began to delve into the key information. After all, according to Elder Wei's personal admission, the reason they were able to come in was because they were led by a fat man. In other words, as his thoughts fluctuated, a fat figure like Maitreya Buddha appeared in his mind. Yi Junlin rubbed his eyebrows. Well, he already knew who was so kind. At this time, When the 500 immortals who were about to self-destruct disappeared, Xuantian sect returned to a peaceful state again. Many disciples and elders felt very depressed. Could it be that the guests who came from afar were performing some show at Piaomiao Peak? This is a big deal. The most confused one was the head of Fujian Peak. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. Brother Jin, please pay attention next time. Those guys are here to cause trouble. Yi Junline's serious voice came to his ears. Although the 500 true immortals were not worth mentioning in his eyes, he didn't like being disturbed by a group of strangers at home. Ah, the head of Fujian Peak was dumbfounded. He actually did a bad thing with good intentions. The most important thing is, are there really people who rush to die these days? They are already immortals, are they still so impulsive? Junior brother Yi, I'm really sorry. Don't worry, I won't do it again. The head of Fujian Peak said with an apologetic face. Thinking of his enthusiastic appearance just now, he felt so embarrassed. And it almost caused a disaster, it was really a sin. The head of Fujian Peak was puzzled by the confusing behavior of Elder Wei and others. Why did they do this? Isn't it good to be alive? Oh, Central Region, Kangming Dao Sect. Sect leader Yi Wusheng stayed in the luxurious bedroom, playing with the treasures in his collection. This is a special cup, the whole body is in the shape of colorful glass. No matter you pour any liquid into it, it will turn into a rich jade liquid, which is very refreshing to drink. That's right, any liquid will do. Now, the team I sent must have swept across the eastern region and crushed the so-called Xuantian sect, right? Yi Wusheng played with the cup and sneered happily. In the central territory, the Kangming Dao sect may not be doing well, but it is absolutely easy to deal with the eastern territory monks next door. When the eastern region becomes your own backyard, you will be able to create a shortcut for silent growth in the fierce competition in the central region. Bang! At this moment, the cup in his hand fell to the ground and spun around a few times before stopping. Yi Wusheng's breathing gradually became faster. He suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. Could it be that something unexpected happened to the 500 immortals he sent out in the eastern region next door? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Just when Yi Wusheng was in shock and confusion, he received the death message from Elder Wei in his mind, and scenes in the eastern region flashed one after another. Wait a minute, this is the leader of the fire worship demon cult, Red Demon Hong Chenny. When he saw this familiar figure in red, Yi Wusheng's heart almost stopped beating, a deep feeling of suffocation came from his chest, and the expression on his face was full of shock. Red Demon Hong Chenny, the powerful demon in the central region in the past, once founded the fire worship demon cult, which attracted the followers of countless powerful people. He developed hundreds of millions of followers under his command, and his momentum almost surpassed that of the 8 great Dao sects. It was at its peak. Later, it attracted many forces to attack, and it fell apart and went to destruction. Yi Wusheng didn't expect that the red demon from the past had disappeared for many years, and when he reappeared, he would actually be in the Xuantian sect in the eastern region. At the end of the scene, Yi Wusheng watched with helpless eyes. Hong Chenny waved his sleeves lightly, and the horrific scene of the 500 immortals of the Kangming Dao sect being wiped out in ashes. What state is this? Immortal or immortal? Yi Wusheng prefers the latter, because he is also in the heavenly immortal realm, but he cannot kill Elder Wei and the others so easily. It seems that during this period, the other party also received a series of opportunities to advance to this level in cultivation. Beads of sweat broke out on Yi Wusheng's forehead, and his back went cold with fear. If he said he was not afraid, it would be a lie. With that person's grudge-holding temperament, he would definitely settle accounts with his enemies when he returns to the central region in the future. As for Hong Chenny's master, Yi Wusheng was skeptical. Based on his many years of experience, the so-called master must be a cover. Because in a place like the eastern region, it is impossible for anyone to suppress this devil and make him surrender willingly. Yi Wusheng even boldly speculated that Xuantian sect was actually a disguised sect of the fire worship demon sect, and the person behind the scenes was Hong Chenny himself. The entire 14 states in the eastern region have long been controlled by him in disguise. As for Senior Yi, whom everyone respects, he is just a puppet he uses to attract the attention of the outside world. It's no wonder that Yi Wusheng's imagination is so wide open, because when Hong Chenny caused trouble in the central territory, he suffered a lot from it, and subconsciously felt that this idea was in line with the persona of the big devil. This despicable red devil has been dormant in the eastern region, secretly accumulating strength and preparing to counterattack the central region. It caused me to be kept in the dark and cost Elder Wei and his family their lives. I originally thought that the Eastern Territory was an unexplored treasure land, and the Kangming Dao sect could seize and strengthen it first. However, I did not expect that the Eastern Territory had already been dominated by the big devil of the year. This feeling of being the first to get there made Yi Wusheng feel that he was a complete resentment. It's so uncomfortable to ride on a horse. No, I can't bear this loss alone. Thinking of the experience of being bullied during this period, Yi Wusheng became more and more angry and began to rack his brains to think of how to operate this matter. Thoughts are turning. A plan came up in Yi Wusheng's mind secretly, and a sinister smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 244. C-244 Demon Slaying Order, Issue. There are 108 states in the Central Territory, which is a vast area. It would take an ordinary monk how many years to cross a state? Unless he borrows various teleportation arrays, he can reach them instantly. However, the teleportation arrays are controlled by major forces. It costs a huge amount of spiritual crystals to pass through, so many ordinary monks stay in their hometowns for the rest of their lives. Only those who are extremely high-level practitioners can rely on their own strength to travel across multiple states day and night. But even an immortal cannot guarantee that he will be able to travel across the 108 states of the Central Territory on his own within 10 years. One can imagine how vast the territory of the Central Territory is. Because the Central Territory is a large place and has the most abundant resources for cultivating immortals, the monks in the Central Territory have always thought highly of themselves and feel that there is no need to set foot in the other 4 major territories. Regardless of the orthodox tradition, they cannot compare to the Central Territory. A long time ago, there was a saying that the Central Region is Kunlun, and Kunlun is the Central Region. The meaning is obvious, that is, the Kunlun realm only needs to look at the Central Region. The Central Region can represent the entire Kunlun realm. The other major regions are backward and barbaric lands, not worthy of attention and exploration. It is enough to show how superior the position of Zhongyu is in Kunlun realm. Back to topic. Although the scope of the Central Territory is huge, and many monks cannot cross multiple dojos with the help of flying magic weapons, the speed of message transmission is simply amazing. Just because the communications industry in the Central Region is extremely developed. It is not like the other 4 major regions, which transmit news through traditional newspaper media. For example, the Cultivation World Daily in the Eastern region requires monks to buy newspapers themselves to understand the latest news. This is a relatively backward method in the Central Region. What do the monks in the Central Realm use? It's Yinkui. De Hanzhou. Inside a lively tea house. Some are talking eloquently about the general trend of the world, some are chatting about the latest news, and some are complaining to their friends with sad faces. At the front desk of the tea house, there is a simple Yinkui. It is shaped like a compass and is equipped with a precise sound transmission array. There is a metal ball the size of a fist suspended on it. As long as it absorbs a small amount of spiritual power from the spiritual crystal, the entire sound can be transformed. Kui can start it, play the most popular reports at the moment, and can freely switch multiple channels manually. You can truly understand the latest news from Zhongyu without leaving home. At this time, a well-spoken female announcer's voice came from inside Yinkui. The Lihuo sect in Feixiong Prefecture had a fierce conflict with the Guiyuan sect over the ownership of an immortal vein, resulting in the death of more than 20,000 monks and the injury of at least 100,000 monks. The leader of the Qingtian sect called on both parties to remain calm and restrained to prevent the situation from going further. Serious upgrade. According to reliable information, the eldest daughter of the Bai family, newly married to the head of the Lian family, eloped with a strange man last night. The angry head of the Lian family sent many strong men from the Tribulation realm to pursue him. The Bai family did not express their position on the matter and chose to remain silent. Extremely good news, the flying mount favored by monks, the dragon-blooded Pegasus, which is famous for its speed, has been reduced in price. As long as 99,999 high-grade spiritual crystals, you can take it home. Experience it, feeling like the wind. Just then, there was a rustling sound from Yinkui, and then a solemn female voice sounded, "Now, urgently interrupt with the latest news." Just today, the leader of the Kangming Dao sect announced that Elder Wei, his sect, accidentally discovered the red demon Red Chenny in the Eastern Territory when he was traveling to the outside world. Unfortunately, Elder Wei's whereabouts have been discovered, and now he has been brutally murdered. When the previous reports came out, everyone in the tea house was chatting and laughing until this urgent news came. The whole place fell silent instantly. Everyone's eyes widened and they all looked at Yinkui in unison. Red demon, a middle-aged man dressed as a scribe exclaimed. The red demon Hong Chenny who caused trouble in the Central Territory actually appeared in the Eastern Territory. Oh my god, there was a tall, dark-skinned man holding an orchid with his fingers, his face turned pale with fright, and his high-pitched voice contained panic. That's the legendary natural disaster in red. Every time he appears, it heralds the coming of a natural disaster. Hong Chenny, the leader of the fire worship demon sect, I have hated him all my life. My father was deceived by his prosperous appearance and betrayed my mother to join the church, willing to become a believer. A handsome young man gritted his teeth with hatred and clenched his fists tightly. He recalled in his mind that his father abandoned his mother on a rainy day, ran to the fire worship demon cult with all his heart, and eventually died in battle. The Red Devil was not only notorious for his evil reputation, but the fire worship demon cult he founded had a great impact on the Central Territory back then. No one knows it, no one knows it. Its leader, Hong Chiba, has a male and female appearance, and is extremely powerful. The most terrifying thing is that his skin is so good looking that many beauty addicts are willing to follow him like a demon, just to witness his beauty in his prime. On the surface, it is the fire-worshipping demon sect, but to be more precise, it should be the Yan-worshipping demon sect. The group of strong men who followed Hong Chenny were all there for his looks. It is hard to imagine that a feared demon master would attract countless male monks with special hobbies to pursue him back then. It can be said that it is unparalleled in the limelight. Later, the major forces in the central region realized that something was wrong, and they united to annihilate the fire worship demon cult, and this skewed trend was corrected. As for the leader who was the primary target, he was nowhere to be found, but almost everyone in the outside world said that he had fallen and was beaten to ashes by the Holy Lord of the Holy Land of Taichu with an immortal weapon. In addition, the battle between immortals was so huge that many cultivators felt that there was no possibility of survival, so they believed it and naturally accepted this fact. Result: the leader of Kangming Dao sect specifically announced publicly that the Red Devil Hong Chenny was not dead, but was in the neighboring East region. This is very scary. At this moment, the cultivators in the tea house recalled the fear of being dominated by the red disaster. Shish, keep listening. A man in plain clothes stretched out his finger in front of his mouth and made a serious shushing sound. Everyone closed their mouths and came to Yinkui to listen carefully. Yinkui continued to play the content. According to the leader of Kangming Dao sect, Elder Wei discovered before his death that the red demon Hong Chenny had been operating the fire worship demon sect in the East region for many years, but he used the name of Xuantian sect instead to cover up his tracks. Over the years, he has been secretly accumulating strength in the East region, preparing to find the right time to counterattack the Central region. In this regard, sect leader Yi calls on everyone to remain highly vigilant, and also hopes that all major forces will join forces again to enter the East region to attack Xuantian sect. Bring the red demon Hong Chenny to justice. Comfort the souls of the righteous people in heaven. Hiss. Hearing this, everyone took a deep breath, and the air in the tea house was almost sucked out. Red demon Hong Chenny, ready to counterattack the Central region. Xuantian sect is his demon cave. Not only this small tea house, through Yin Kui's communication ability, it spread like a tide to every corner of the Central region. In just a few days, whether it was the cultivators of the righteous and evil ways, or the ordinary people, they all learned about this earth-shattering news. Everyone's expressions were varied, some were worried, some were excited, some were happy, some were nervous, some were uneasy. This was enough to prove how huge Hong Chenny's influence was. Even after many years, when it was mentioned again, it could cause a sensation on the big stage of the Central region where there were so many powerful people. Just when countless people were discussing this matter, Feng Qingyang, the leader of the Wuji Dao sect, the leader of the 8 major Dao sects, announced to the public. Immediately, issue a demon-killing order, unite the immortals of the 8 major Dao sects, and go together to destroy the Xuantian sect and completely kill the red demon Hong Chenny. To set an example. As soon as this statement came out, the already restless Central region instantly boiled. Chapter 245. C245 Possessed by the Spirit of Drama. Holy crap, is Master Feng really serious? He just issued a demon-slaying order on behalf of the 8th Dao sect. Don't you know, his biological son died in the hands of the red demon Hong Chenny back then. He died miserably, even his ashes were scattered. Hey, I remember this incident. The reason is that young Master Feng was having sex with someone in a restaurant. He said that red demon Hong Chenny had a good skin and he didn't mind taking her as his male favorite. The result was that the words were spread by someone who was interested, and this led to the revenge of Red Demon Red Chenny. Quote. Tisk, tisk, this is the price of oral pleasure. Hush, be careful, if a disciple of the Wuji Dao sect hears it, you will be killed. Yes, yes, Wuji Dao sect is the leader of the 8 Dao sects, and Master Feng's disciples are all over the world. You should be careful what you say. In short, knowing that Red Demon Red Chenny is in the eastern region, Master Feng is determined to avenge his beloved son this time. He will not hesitate to rope in the 8th Avenue sect and start another fairy war. All 108 states in the central region were shocked by this major declaration of war. The discussion was overwhelming and there were various opinions. Many people feel that the 8th Great Dao sect is definitely stable this time. But some people believe that even the Red Devils who fought in such a big battle did not die. No matter what happens this time, they will just flee to other regions like last time. When the outside world is making a fuss. Kangming Taoist sect. In the main hall, a middle-aged man wearing a sky blue monk's robe, with thick black eyebrows and a majestic face stood with his hands behind his hands. His eyes were as sharp as a blade, making people afraid to look directly at him. Brother Yi, I have already discussed with the other masters of the Dao sect. Tomorrow we will jointly lead the sect team to hunt the Red Demon Red Chenny in the eastern region. Do you have any objections here? The middle-aged man stood tall and looked directly at Yi Wusheng in front of him, speaking in an extremely harsh tone. Hearing this tone, it sounded like he was giving a notice. The elders around him lowered their heads, not daring to show any dissatisfaction. Just because of this person's identity, he is the leader of Wuji Dao sect, Feng Qingyang. Yi Wusheng shook his head. Everything is up to Brother Feng. I hope that under your leadership, the 7 Avenues sect will be victorious, completely eliminate the culprit Hong Chenny, promote the reputation of the central region, and let the light of righteousness illuminate the Kunlun world. Wait. Feng Qingyang was about to nod with satisfaction when he suddenly heard the clues. He frowned and asked sternly, what do you mean, your Kangming Dao sect doesn't want to contribute? Facing the faint sense of oppression, a flash of fear flashed in Yi Wusheng's eyes, and then quickly disappeared. A look of regret appeared on his face, and he sighed. Brother Feng, it's not that I don't want to contribute, it's just that I really can't get away. How do you say this? Feng Qingyang folded his hands and sneered, wanting to see what excuse the other party would find. Yi Wusheng did not respond directly, but turned around and stepped to the front, stretched out his hand to lift the black cloth, and what appeared was a large black and white portrait. The frame of the portrait was inlaid with neat gems, with a sacred luster flowing on the surface, and a rare hidden content inside. The fairy spirit. This is actually something more expensive than the spirit crystal, the immortal crystal. Even one piece can cause a frenzy of looting in the central territory, and now it has become a decoration for the portrait. The middle-aged man in the portrait with a friendly smile is none other than Elder Wei, who died not long ago. This is, even a giant of the central region like Feng Qingyang was stunned by this scene. Looking at the rows of sparkling fairy crystals embedded in the frame of the portrait, Feng Qingyang's eyes flashed with passion, and strong depression emerged in his heart. Is this showing off his wealth to him? And this is a weird way to show off your wealth. The next second, Yi Wusheng's eyes were red, and he said slowly with sadness, Brother Feng, as you can see, Elder Wei was the first confidant who followed me, but he did not hesitate to go deep into the demon cave to explore the truth for the safety of the central territory. In the end, died in the hands of Red Demon Hong Chenny. His death was a huge blow to me. I ordered people to build this portrait and plan to hold a grand funeral in the sect for 7 or 49 days to comfort Elder Wei's soul in heaven. During this period, the monks of Kangming Dao sect are not allowed to move outside, including me. Quote. So, this demon-slaying battle has to be left to your 7th Avenue sect. I believe that under the leadership of Brother Feng, we will definitely be able to eliminate future troubles for the central territory. Saying that, before Feng Qingyang could react, Yi Wusheng seemed to be possessed by an opera spirit. He knelt down in front of the portrait with a face full of grief. He looked as if he had aged many years. He stretched out his hand to touch the black and white portrait with trembling hands and choked with sobs. Xiao Wei, you died so miserably. See this. Feng Qingyang froze on the spot, his eyes half shocked and half puzzled. No, everyone is dead, is it necessary to do this? When my son was beaten to death by Red Demon Red Chiba, the funeral I held was not as elaborate as yours. Brother Yi, you. Before he finished speaking, the elders around him fell to their knees, crawled towards the portrait like dogs, and cried with tears streaming down their faces. Elder Wei, you died so miserably. We miss you so much, Elder Wei. Why wasn't I the one who died? Whining cries sounded all around, and the hall was filled with a sad atmosphere. Feng Qingyang stood in the center of the crowd, with several big question marks on his head. Is it true, you guys? That guy named Wei is so popular. Regarding the internal affairs of the Kangming Dao sect, especially when it comes to special occasions like this, Feng Qingyang is really not in a good position to comment. If word gets out, it will damage his image. Therefore, Feng Qingyang had no choice but to hold her nose and admit to Yi Wusheng's outrageous reasons. Didn't you see that someone made a portrait for Elder Wei, even embedded with immortal crystals? This generous gesture is enough to show the sincerity of love. It's all my fault. It's all my fault that I didn't stop him, causing Xiao Wei to lose his life in vain. Yi Wusheng knelt in front of the huge portrait and blamed himself deeply. Brother Yi, Elder Wei's sacrifice is valuable. At least it lets us know where the red demon Hong Chenny is hiding. If we wait until he comes back, the entire central territory will be in catastrophe. Feng Qingyang didn't know why, but he started to comfort him with kind words. Brother Feng, among the 7 masters of the Dao sect, the one I trust most is your character. I hope you will seek justice for me, the Kangming Dao sect. As an apology for this absence, all of our sect's resources in Yunping province will be given to your sect. Yi Wusheng's eyes were red and he said in a sincere tone. What? Feng Qingyang's heart was greatly shaken. Yunpingzhou is an important resource area for Kangming Dao sect. There are countless top-quality spiritual veins and spiritual minerals, and there are even several immortal veins. He was worried about how to get it in the gentlest way, but he didn't expect that they would give it away. Got it. It seems that he is quite sincere. At this moment, the dissatisfaction in Feng Qingyang's heart disappeared. Ha ha ha, Brother Yi values love and justice, I admire you. Don't worry, if the other 6 masters of the 6th Avenue sect ask, I will block it for you. During this time, you can just pay homage to Elder Wei at the funeral and wait for my triumphant return. Come back and have a drink together to celebrate. Feng Qingyang said seriously. Thank you for your understanding, Brother Feng. I'll give it to you, little brother. No, you are busy with your business. Feng Qingyang, who had gained a lot, walked out of the hall with satisfaction, and then turned into a rainbow-like fairy light and escaped into the clouds. After Feng Qingyang left, Yi Wusheng dusted himself off, stood up as if nothing had happened, and said with cold eyes. Don't cry anymore, you're still crying when everyone is gone. The words just fell. The wailing stopped abruptly. The elders stood up angrily, and some of them were ready to perform exceptionally, but they held back, feeling a little unsatisfied. Sect Master, do you really want to give this Yunpingzhou to him? A tall elder said with a confused look on his face. HMPH, I can't bear to let go of the child and trap the wolf. Only when the wolf is fed will it run to bite people for you. Yi Wusheng sneered. Anyway, if we leave tomorrow, the people of their 7th Avenue sect will never come back. Even if I give up all the resources and land, so what? Sect Master, is the red demon Hong Chenny really that strong now? Can't even defeat the 7 Dao sects together? Another elder asked in surprise. Remember the last immortal war, the immortals from the 8 great Dao sects joined forces to suppress this big devil. Now that the world has changed, the number of immortals from each Dao sect has increased sharply. Even if the other party breaks through to the heavenly immortal realm, they cannot escape the fate of being suppressed. Yes. Unexpectedly, Yi Wusheng narrowed his eyes slightly and recalled that scene again in his mind. His eyes changed and he gritted his teeth and said. Strong, very strong. Unless the 4 holy lands are willing to take action, they will never be able to defeat the big devil. Hearing such a positive answer, everyone looked at each other in shock. In my heart, I already believed 90% of it. Finished. Yi Wusheng turned his head and glanced at the huge portrait behind him, his expression showing disgust. Go and take off the fairy crystal from the portrait. Use the same fairy crystal as me. Yes. Chapter 246. C-246 Xuantian Sect. Xuantian Holy Land. After Feng Qingyang returned to Wuji Dao sect, after thinking about it, he felt that something was not right. When did that guy named Yi become so affectionate? But then I thought about it again. With the combined help of the immortals from the 7 great Dao sects, no matter how strong the red demon Red Chiba is, he will definitely die if he fights alone. The revenge of killing a son is irreconcilable. I, Feng, will make that devil pay with blood this time. Feng Qingyang's eyes were bright, like a bright golden lamp, and he said resolutely. Sect Master, you are finally back, the situation has changed. At this moment, an old elder hurriedly ran over and said. Huh, what's the matter? Tell me. Feng Qingyang frowned. Not long after you left, the Holy Lord of Xuantian Holy Land sent us a message, saying that he wanted us to postpone the war for a few days. He would send an envoy to Xuantian sect to find out what was going on. Whether to attack at that time would be another matter. Quote. Hear this. Feng Qingyang was stunned. He did not expect that the Holy Lord of Xuantian Holy Land would intervene in this matter at such a critical moment, and would send an envoy to visit Xuantian sect. What is this operation? Is it possible that Xuantian sect is related to Xuantian Holy Land? Xuantian Holy Land is the first of the 4 holy lands. Its status in the Central Territory is definitely at the overlord level, and it is the leader of the righteous immortal sect. The combined total of the 8 great Dao sects is not enough for it to fight. Since Holy Lord Xuantian has spoken personally, how can Feng Qingyang dare to disobey? No matter how dissatisfied you are, you have to hold it in. After all, face has to be given. If you don't give others face, will the Wuji Dao sect be able to live well in the future? Feng Qingyang understands this truth. I just feel incredible in my heart. Because according to the previous description, Xuantian sect is a disguised sect of the fire worship demon sect, but now it seems that it is very different from the truth. If Xuantian sect is really a branch of Xuantian Holy Land, what should we do with the red demon Hong Chenny who stays in Xuantian sect? The more Feng Qingyang thought about it, the more depressed she became. What kind of messy relationship is this? No wonder the Holy Lord of Xuantian Holy Land attaches great importance to this matter and specially sent an envoy to find out. Now I hope that Xuantian sect and Xuantian Holy Land cannot be at odds with each other. In this case, this demon-slaying battle can start smoothly. Otherwise, if the slogans were shouted loudly and nothing happened, wouldn't he and Wuji Dao sect be disgraced in the central region? Since Holy Lord Xuantian has spoken, this matter will be delayed for a while. When the truth comes out, it will not be too late to take action. Feng Qingyang said helplessly. Xuantian Holy Land. The immortal energy here is very strong, and it is the most suitable holy place for practice in the entire Central Territory. The clouds are misty, the fairy springs are gurgling, and the mountains are surrounding. The scene is majestic. Each fairy peak has a bright halo interlocking with each other. There are palaces and pavilions on the peaks, which is very spectacular. In the sky, countless powerful figures shuttled back and forth. Some were walking with swords, and some were riding horses. They were so cool and happy. As a member of Xuantian Holy Land, the qualification requirements are extremely high. Even an entry-level handyman disciple must be in the fusion realm to start. At this time, a giant floating island that looks like a city in the sky. There is a middle-aged man wearing an ancient bronze crown, with waterfall-like black hair hanging down around his waist, and wearing a cloud-patterned unicorn robe. He stands at the highest point of the hall with his hands behind his hands. His eyes are as deep as the vast starry sky, and his facial features are three-dimensional and strong. There is a proud look of domination in the world between his eyebrows. His identity is one of the most noble beings in the Central Territory. This person is Holy Lord Xuantian. Zhang Tianming. Holy Lord, do you want me to go to the Eastern Territory as an envoy to check the situation of Xuantian sect? Below, a young man with an ordinary appearance and a well-proportioned figure had a look of astonishment on his face and a very surprised tone. Lu Qingming did not expect that the Holy Lord would issue such a special order. Yes, after much thought, only you can take on such a glorious and arduous task. Zhang Tianming said seriously. Lu Qingming couldn't help but fall into deep thought. He suspected that no one was willing to take this job, so the Holy Master pushed this job to him. After all, the entire Central Territory knows that Red Demon Hong Chenny is in Xuantian sect. If anyone runs over, wouldn't it be no different than sending someone to death? Holy Lord, actually I understand your concerns, but I can tell you clearly that the Xuantian sect was not founded by the Red Demon. It actually has a close relationship with my Xuantian Holy Land. Zhang Tianming said meaningfully. What? Lu Qingming was surprised. A sect far away on the border of the Eastern Territory can actually be related to the strongest immortal sect in the Central Territory. This news is really exciting, not much worse than the appearance of Red Demon Red Chiba. Years ago, when my master was in power, he once said that when his best friend Yan Zhenren was about to become an immortal, he was falsely accused of being a prisoner and stealing. The old Holy Master listened to the slander and angrily cut off most of Yan Zhenren's Taoism as a punishment. Yan the real person couldn't bear the humiliation and ran away from Xuantian Holy Land, never to be heard from again. Later, after the death of the old Holy Master, my master became the new Holy Master. The first thing he did was to bring order to the chaos of Master Yan and prove his innocence. Unfortunately, since Master Yan left the Xuantian Holy Land, he has disappeared and has no news. Until my master ascended, I still have regrets. Now, the Red Demon and Red Chenny appear, and they happen to be in Xuantian sect, so I remember this old thing. Zhang Tianming sighed. Lu Qingming was stunned. He didn't expect that there was such a secret hidden behind it. However, there are so many sects with the word Xuantian in the entire Kunlun world. Isn't it too arbitrary to infer that they are related to Xuantian Holy Land based on this alone? Lu Qingming said weakly. After all, he still didn't want to go. Zhang Tianming smiled. That's why I asked you to confirm, right? The question is, if the situation is true, how should we treat Xuantian sect? You know, the big devil is there, and I seriously suspect that he has already occupied the magpie's nest and occupied the orthodoxy left by Zhenren Yan. Quote. Lu Qingming said worriedly. Zhang Tianming muttered. If this is the case, then it would not be too late to let the 8th Dao sect go and deal with the Red Demon. In short, it is a sect founded by my master's best friend, and it is related to my Xuantian Holy Land. We absolutely cannot sit idly by and ignore it. Quote. The main thing is, after a pause in his tone, Zhang Tianming's eyes flashed and he said. Recently, my Tongtian instrument has detected the birth of 100,000 immortal mountains in the eastern region. I am worried that there is no reasonable excuse for Xuantian Holy Land to intervene. After all, besides us, there are other 3 holy lands. How fierce the fight has been recently, I know that too. But as long as it is confirmed that Xuantian sect is related to my Xuantian Holy Land, then as a branch, it can control the immortal cultivation resources in the eastern region for my Xuantian Holy Land. No matter how dissatisfied the other 3 holy places are, they will not be qualified to accuse my Xuantian Holy Land intervenes in the disputes in the eastern region. So, do you understand how important Xuantian sect is? Hear the words. Lu Qingming suddenly realized it. Looking at the extraordinary middle-aged man in front of him, he thought to himself that it must be you, old fox. It sounds grand on the surface, but in the final analysis, it is to cultivate a puppet force in the eastern region, which is equivalent to using white gloves to seize more resources for Xuantian Holy Land to cultivate immortals. And Xuantian sect is a suitable target. As a branch of Xuantian Holy Land, is it normal to work for Xuantian Holy Land? Even if the other 3 holy places are unhappy, they will all stare blankly. Cultivation, especially for a force, is essentially about grabbing territory and resources. The more who grabs more, the more advantageous it will be in the early stage. To know, nowadays, the central territory is highly in evolution, the old and new forces are changing, and many places are reshuffling. If Xuantian Holy Land wants to continue to maintain its dominance, it must be far ahead. Holy Master, you have already mentioned this. I, Lu Qingming, can't do it unless I go. If I come back alive, this reward, Lu Qingming rubbed his hands, his eyes hinting wildly. I will give you a top-quality true immortal level celestial weapon. Zhang Tianming said seriously. Hear this. Lu Qingming's eyes were hot and his breathing became rapid. He is just a new true immortal. If he could possess a top-quality true immortal level weapon, it would be of great help to him. Is this true? Really? Okay, I will set off immediately to the eastern region to find out the details of Xuantian sect. Lu Qingming patted his chest in assurance, then turned around and left with a majestic step. Chapter 247. C-247 Lu Qingming, what the hell? After many days, as a true immortal, Lu Qingming arrived in the East region very quickly, but he did not run around everywhere in a blatant manner. Instead, he hid his cultivation and lurked, secretly trying to find out about the Xuantian sect. In a tea house, a storyteller in green clothes was talking vividly. Who would have thought that the Yuha sect in Qingzhou was the culprit? It colluded with alien races to open the Stargate channel, allowing 1 billion foreign immortals to enter the East region. In an instant, the sky was dark and the scene was terrifying. Not only the East region, but the entire Kunlun realm was in crisis. At this time, Senior Yi appeared. He intercepted 1 billion foreign immortals with a sword and said coldly, "With me, Yi Junlin, you can't harm the people." The billion foreign immortals obviously didn't believe it, and laughed loudly, full of ridicule and mockery. The generals who led wanted to humiliate Senior Yi, and they were even more. Even if we stand still and let you kill us, how many can you kill with your ability? Who would have thought that Senior Yi smiled faintly and said that he only needed 10 swords. After that, he swung his sword, and the vast sword energy swept the sky. Before the 100 million foreign immortals had time to react, they were killed. The alien generals were shocked. At this time, Senior Yi continued to swing his sword. He swung 10 swords in total, and the souls of 1 billion foreign immortals flew away. In this way, Senior Yi slaughtered 1 billion foreign immortals, forging his immortal achievements and reputation. Because of him, the East region is safe and sound, and Kunlun realm has the peaceful days now. Outside the tea house, Lu Qingming was stunned. What the hell? Kill 100 million immortals with 1 sword. Kill 1 billion with 10 swords. Fuck, what do you think of immortals? That's an immortal, kill him as he says, and kill 1 billion. Killing a chicken is not as outrageous as you, right? That's 1 billion. Do you know what 1 billion immortals mean? Storytelling should also be based on common sense, right? Fooling fools. Just when Lu Qingming thought that this group of guests were going to attack him and drive this bad storyteller off the stage, a surprising scene happened. Good. Senior Yi is awesome. The guests were drinking tea and listening. When they heard this plot, many of them clapped excitedly. Senior Yi is awesome. He killed 100 million immortals with 1 sword. If he said 10 swords, he would kill 10 swords. 1 more sword would not work. That's right, in the entire Kunlun world, who can compare with Senior Yi? Senior Yi is invincible. Everyone talked about it, expressing their admiration for Senior Yi. Lu Qingming was dumbfounded. Several big question marks appeared on his head. No, what's going on? The guests present actually believed this exaggerated storyteller and were deeply immersed in the story. Is the concept of immortals so naive in the East region? Looking at the guests who were applauding, Lu Qingming looked as if he was looking at a group of mentally retarded people. Fellow Taoist, come in and sit down. Not only can you taste our signature tea, but you can also listen to the legendary deeds of Senior Yi. In the tea house, a servant noticed Lu Qingming standing outside and invited him warmly. Senior Yi, legendary deeds. Lu Qingming caught these 2 key words and said with a strange look, you mean, what the storyteller said just now was true? Now it was the servant's turn to be stunned. He looked up and down at this ordinary man, his eyes gradually became compassionate. My fellow Taoist, were you in seclusion before? How could you not know what Senior Yi did? Ah, yes, I was in seclusion at that time. I've been out in the world recently. Lu Qingming reacted and continued to speak. Oh, no wonder. My dear brother, who is the Senior Yi you are talking about? Lu Qingming asked tentatively. Hearing that someone in the East region didn't know Senior Yi, the servant immediately introduced him with a serious face. The Senior Yi we are talking about is Yi Junlin, the leader of Piaomiao Peak of Xuantian sect. He is the great hero who saved Kunlun realm and is also recognized as the strongest in the East region. Xuantian sect. Lu Qingming was shocked. Isn't this the sect where the red demon Hong Chenyi belongs? Moreover, Senior Yi's eldest disciple Hong Chenyi is known as the most beautiful woman in the world, and is called the Red Fairy by the outside world. She is also my dream lover, hee. Speaking of the Red Fairy, the servant couldn't help but become shy and said. Hiss. Lu Qingming took a deep breath. He looked around in panic subconsciously, and then he covered his chest and slowly calmed down. The big devil who caused chaos in the central region back then was actually called the Red Fairy in the eastern region. Let me slow down, this amount of information is a bit too much. But what shocked Lu Qingming the most was that the devil was willing to worship a master, and the master's origin was from the Xuantian sect. Yi Junlin, Lu Qingming muttered to himself, and his heart seemed to be stirred up by a storm. Is this guy really that powerful? Judging from the tone of this servant, this person deserves his reputation in the eastern region. But, 1 billion immortals from outside the domain, that's 1 billion, aren't you exaggerating too much? Lu Qingming looked like he had a toothache. Instinctively, he didn't believe it. Even if you said 100,000 immortals, it would be fine, but you just said 1 billion, what kind of terrifying number is this? It's really hard for me to believe it. At this time, the storyteller picked up the gavel and slammed it on the table, and continued to talk excitedly. That day, Senior Yi's eldest disciple Hong Chenyi was about to overcome the tribulation and become an immortal, but who would have thought that the power of the thunder tribulation was too strong, and even Hong Chenyi's life was hanging by a thread. At the critical moment, Senior Yi stopped the thunder tribulation and ordered it to leave quickly and not to harm his disciple's life. The thunder tribulation was furious and released millions of lightning lights directly at Senior Yi. In that scene, the sun and the moon were dark, the mountains and rivers were broken, the yin and yang were reversed, and the sky and the earth lost their color. As a result, Senior Yi just blew out the millions of lightning lights. The thunder tribulation was shocked and angry, until he met an opponent he had rarely seen in his life, and took the initiative to show his true body to start a shocking battle with Senior Yi. Who would have thought that Senior Yi would be killed within 3 days with one move? Lei Jia fled in panic. Before leaving, Lei Jia also sent down the light of immortality, allowing Hong Chenyi to successfully pass the tribulation and become an immortal. Quote. Above the clouds, Senior Yi even made a bold statement that if my apprentice wants to become an immortal in the future, he must not make any difficulties, otherwise there will be no place for you, Lei Jia, in this world. Even the way of heaven can't protect you, I said. As soon as these words came out, the sky sounded with a sad thunder, as if responding to Senior Yi's words. So far, Lei Jia has completely bowed to Senior Yi. Good. After speaking, the guests in the tea house burst into cheers. This time the applause was more enthusiastic than before, and their palms were red, and their bright eyes were full of fanaticism. Outside, Lu Qingming's mouth was so wide that an ostrich egg could be stuffed in it. No, do you know what you are talking about? Lei Jia. That's Lei Jia, the existence that dominates the life and death of the cultivators in the Kunlun world. Over the years, if a second person intervenes to survive the thunderstorm, they will be struck to death. This is an eternal law. You guys, should have a limit when making up stories, right? Be careful on the road, or you will be struck by thunder. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 248. C248, Legend of Senior Yi. Lu Qingming really didn't expect that the monks in the eastern region were so outrageous that they opened the door to such outrageous things. It was so outrageous. Dare you make fun of the thunder tribulation? What a courage. There must be a limit to bragging, right? Lu Qingming began to seriously suspect that all of this was actually the conspiracy of Red Devil Hong Chenyi. The so-called Senior Yi was someone who supported him and then hired a navy army to build momentum for him, creating the impression that he had a strong backer. I want the forces in the central region to be afraid of him and not dare to attack him. Yes, that must be the case. This despicable method is in line with my understanding of the Red Demon. Lu Qingming thought he had seen through everything, and his eyes shone with wisdom. At the same time, he felt a little disdainful in his heart. Even if you are trying to create momentum, you still have to exercise discretion, right? Why did you kill 1 billion alien immortals with 10 swords, and what's even more outrageous was that you also beat away the thunder tribulation. If you're so good at it, why don't you make up more? It's a pity that the monks in the eastern region generally have low IQs, and that's why they were manipulated by you. Looking at the group of excited guests in the tea house who were clapping and applauding, Lu Qingming's eyes showed compassion. Alas, he is hopelessly stupid. Fellow Taoist, come in and sit down. The storyteller is about to start talking about the Immortal Emperor chapter of The Legend of Senior Yi. The boy said enthusiastically. What? Lu Qingming almost suspected that his ears had misheard, and said with a look of disbelief on his face, Immortal Emperor chapter. Yes, it tells the story of Senior Yi's glorious deeds as the Immortal Emperor in suppressing the dark turmoil in ancient times. The young man said seriously. Lu Qingming. At this time, Lu Qingming's head was buzzing, and he swallowed his saliva. After a long while, he held back a sentence and said, that's about it. You even moved all the Immortal Emperors out. You are lying. Immortal Emperor. Do you know what the concept of Immortal Emperor is? Fellow Taoist, please pay attention to your words. It's just that you have been in seclusion for many years and are ignorant. Now the entire eastern region knows that Senior Yi is the Immortal Emperor, and the strongest Immortal Emperor. He was even known as Emperor Yi Tiandi back then. I recall that in ancient times, there were 7 dark restricted areas that were eyeing our human race. Later, they launched a dark turmoil and wanted to kill hundreds of millions of living beings in our Kunlun realm. For the sake of the world, Senior Yi fought against the masters of the 7 restricted areas alone for the sake of the world. In the end, the master of the 7 restricted areas was defeated by Senior Yi, and peace was restored to the Kunlun world. Because Senior Yi consumed too much power, he had to fall into a deep sleep. He only woke up a few years ago and walked around the eastern region. This is why he is so strong. Because he was originally the Immortal Emperor. He was also the head of the Immortal Emperors back then, Emperor Yi Tian. After the boy finished speaking categorically, he raised his chin proudly and looked at Lu Qingming with a downward look. It means, you are behind the times, brother. This is the current brand new version. Lu Qingming's expression looked like he was stupid, and he was stunned in place. Emperor Yi Tian suppressed the dark turmoil and pacified the 7 restricted areas. What the hell is this? No, you guys are really good at making it up. Lu Qingming was speechless, completely speechless. Fellow Taoist, after I've said so much, why don't you come in and have a drink? I guarantee that what the storyteller said is 10,000 times more exciting than what I said. The boy said enthusiastically. Lu Qingming turned around and saw the storyteller took a sip of tea to moisten his throat, picked up the gavel, slapped it on the table, and began to talk about the Immortal Emperor chapter of The Legend of Senior Yi. It is said that in the ancient times of the Kunlun world, there was an immortal family named Yi. The ancestors had many immortals and great figures. Later, they suffered great catastrophes and the family declined. Until one day, the patriarch's wife gave birth to a son with a physique. The story about the special baby, Senior Yi, starts from here. Somehow, even though he knew it was made up, Lu Qingming still felt very itchy in his heart. There is always a desire to listen. Waiter, bring me the best tea and book the best seat. Okay, sir, please come this way. During these few hours, Lu Qingming, who was sitting in the tea house, listened intoxicated, and his heartstrings were pulled by the content of the plot. As for the tasks entrusted by the Holy Lord, he had already forgotten them, immersed himself in the world described by the storyteller, and followed the protagonist on his magnificent journey of cultivating immortality. Especially when I heard about Senior Yi in the later part of the story, facing the Lord of the Seven Forbidden Zones alone and being trapped in a tight siege and almost exhausted, he suddenly realized the ultimate sublimation, shouted domineeringly to the source of darkness, and his decisive voice resounded throughout the Kunlun realm. As the Emperor of Heaven, I shall suppress all enemies in the world. In an instant, Lu Qingming only felt that the blood in his body was hot and restless. He was so excited that he wanted to squeeze both eggs on the spot to add to the fun. Damn it, so burning, so passionate. At this time, Lu Qingming seemed to witness with his own eyes the majestic figure standing in the sky, with his back turned to all living beings, fighting alone against the master of the seven forbidden areas, that heroic and fearless tragic scene. Just thinking about it made his scalp tingle and goosebumps appear all over his body. Tears filled the eyes of the guests in the tea house. They were all crying, and some even hugged each other and cried in twos and threes. The scene fell into chaos for a time. When the storyteller saw this, he had to bang the table with a gavel to remind the guests below to pay attention to the impact. There is no way, as soon as the Immortal Emperor chapter of Senior Yi's legend comes out, the emotions in the later period are directly filled up, it can be said to be wonderful. That's it. Lu Qingming listened to the storytelling for a long time, and he left the tea house reluctantly until the plot ended. He was savoring it all the way. This Senior Yi is really a role model for our generation. I admire him. As expected of the strongest immortal emperor, Yi Tiandi. Wait, suddenly, Lu Qingming reacted suddenly, his eyes were filled with deep doubt. What happened to me just now? Lu Qingming, who noticed something was wrong, stood there and fell into deep thought, and a terrible thought emerged in his heart. Brainwashing, complete brainwashing. Under the background of public opinion that people follow the crowd, coupled with the output of various cool articles, over time, they will be led by the nose. This time, Lu Qingming finally understood why the Eastern region cultivators believed in Senior Yi. I knew it must be the trick of the red demon Hong Chenny. What a vicious mind, even I almost fell into the trap. Lu Qingming, who came back to his senses, said terribly after thinking carefully. For a moment, he felt a sense of fear. HMPH, next, let me go to Xuantian sect and expose his ridiculous tricks. No, I have to stay calm. What if he gets angry and kills me? It's better to make a friendly visit. If we can't reach an agreement, we can retreat safely and let the 8 major sects deal with him. Make up your mind. Lu Qingming turned into a bright fairy light and headed straight for the location of Xuantian sect. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 249. C249 I was actually kidding you. Guangzhou, Xuantian sect. There was a middle-aged fat man who looked like Maitreya Buddha. He was holding 2 excellent Layan walnuts in his hands and was walking around happily. Suddenly, he noticed that the defense formation was activated. He turned his head in surprise and saw a man with ordinary appearance, who was full of fairy spirit, appearing outside Xuantian sect. Again, the head of Fujian Peak raised his eyebrows and flew over in a hurry on the auspicious clouds. At this time, Lu Qingming, who was intercepted outside, was very surprised. Why did the defense formation of Xuantian sect feel stronger than that of Xuantian Holy Land? Is this reasonable? He originally wanted to visit openly, but when he thought that the devil might interfere, he couldn't help but have a crooked mind and planned to sneak in to check the situation. As a result, before he entered, he was discovered by this defense formation with no blind spots and was intercepted outside Xuantian sect. Helplessly, Lu Qingming had to prepare to go through the main gate and let the disciples guarding the mountain gate go to report. Just then, there was a fat middle-aged figure in front of him, stepping on the auspicious cloud and approaching him quickly. Lu Qingming's eyes lit up, cleared his throat, and bowed with a smile. My fellow Taoist, I am the envoy of Xuantian Holy Land. This time I came to visit your sect. Can you give me a favor? Across a layer of light curtain, the head of Fusion Peak smiled and said to the young man in front of him in a clear and loud voice. Get out. Ah, this. Lu Qingming's smile froze on his face, and the corners of his mouth twitched wildly. Hey, isn't that too much? Lu Qingming didn't expect that the attitude of Xuantian sect was so bad, and it was very unfriendly to foreign visitors. The first word was, get out. Lu Qingming suppressed his anger and said with a wry smile. Fellow Taoist, maybe you didn't hear me clearly. I came from Xuantian Holy Land. Xuantian Holy Land knows about it, right? It is the leader of the 4 holy lands in the central region. This time, the Holy Lord specially sent me here to understand the situation of your sect, because there may be some connection between us, so please do me a favor. As he said this, Lu Qingming also took out an ancient token with the word, Xuantian, on it, revealing the breath of time. This time, the leader of Fusion Peak smiled even more, and deliberately emphasized his tone and said. Get lost, Lu Qingming. Damn, you scored twice, right? Are you Xuantian sect so arrogant that you dare to treat people from Xuantian Holy Land like this? Lu Qingming was annoyed. In the past, as long as you were a cultivator representing Xuantian Holy Land, you could walk sideways in the central region. It was simply so powerful that all major forces had to treat you with courtesy. Result, he came all the way here, but he was repeatedly driven away by the other party before he even entered the door. Who can stand this? The leader of Fusion Peak smiled and looked at Lu Qingming as if he was watching a monkey show. Humph, you still want to fool me? Last time, you, a group of immortals from the central region, were so flattering that I enthusiastically led you into the sect, which almost caused a disaster. Now you are using this trick again. Do you think I will be fooled? You think I am easy to fool because I am fat, right? Suddenly, a mellow and steady voice came from behind. Junior brother Jin, what are you doing? The speaker was the sect leader Shu Union. Shu Union came in the air with his hands behind his back, and looked at the leader of Fusion Peak with a strange look on his face as he confronted this unknown immortal through the light shield. Master, you're here just in time. This idiot said he was from Xuantian Holy Land in the central region. This time he came to visit my Xuantian sect. He also kept saying that he had some connection with our sect. Do you think this is nonsense? The master of Fusion Peak glanced at Lu Qingming and said sarcastically. Lu Qingming was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. How dare you, a fat guy, scold me? At this time, he thought that the people in Xuantian sect were unreasonable. No wonder even Kai Mo stayed here. It was simply a nest of snakes and rats. Just as Lu Qingming threw his sleeves and prepared to return the same way with a dark face. Master Shu Union was shocked and said with a short breath, wait, you came from Xuantian Holy Land? Lu Qingming was stunned and nodded, yes. In that case, please demonstrate Xuantian Gong on the spot to prove yourself. Master Shu Union stabilized his emotions and calmed down. Xuantian Gong is the unique skill of Xuantian sect. Only the core elders are qualified to practice it. It is the same as the Yuha Ascension skill of Yuha sect. Lu Qingming felt that there was an opportunity, so he demonstrated it on the spot without saying anything. He made a hand gesture, and his body was surrounded by terrifying rune marks, emitting a brilliant blue light, full of mysterious ancient breath, and then began to evolve related skills, such as Xuantian Dragon Capturing Hand, Xuantian One Finger, Xuantian Infinite Fist. Stop, I believe you. Sect Master Shu Union said excitedly. In theory, Xuantian Gong is the unique skill of Xuantian Holy Land, which is enough to make a sect glorious, but the problem is that the founder of the sect, Master Yan, only left a fragment. It is not enough to support future generations to practice to a high level, so Xuantian sect used to live in a small place in the deserted state and could not make any progress in the practice. However, only the sect master is qualified to know this secret, and it has been passed down orally for so many years until the current sect master Shu Union. When Shu Union saw Lu Qingming demonstrating the more sophisticated and profound Xuantian Gong, he was 100% sure that this was sent by Xuantian Holy Land. Lu Qingming was also very excited, and finally met a normal person. Junior brother Jin, this is a distinguished guest, let him in. Sect Master Shu Yunian urged. Fu Junfeng Peak Master. The development of the matter was beyond his expectations. Unexpectedly, this time it was actually true. Mental state, right. Swish. The defensive formation was removed, and Lu Qingming was able to enter Xuantian sect. Fu Junfeng Peak Master scratched his head, showing an awkward but polite smile. Actually, I was just joking with you. Lu Qingming smiled and said, get out. Fu Junfeng Peak Master. He touched his belly and lowered his head, pouting in grievance. Ahem, my junior brother Jin has no ill intentions. It's mainly because a group of immortals who claim to be Kangming Dao sect made trouble in my Xuantian sect before, but fortunately they were destroyed in time by junior brother Hong. Sect Master Shu Yunian explained. Kangming Dao sect. Lu Qingming vaguely felt that he smelled a hint of conspiracy. Great, it turns out that the Kangming Dao sect had already suffered a big setback here at the Xuantian sect, so they encouraged the righteous forces in the central region to come and encircle and suppress the red demon Hong Chenny. Wait, is the nephew Hong you mentioned called Hong Chenny? Lu Qingming reacted and asked with a look of panic. Yes, then do you know who he is? Identity. Oh, he is the chief disciple of the master of Piao Miao Peak. Lu Qingming's face froze. It seems that you know nothing about the horror of the red demon. Lu Qingming is more convinced that the manipulator behind this place is the red demon Hong Chenny. The so-called master is the image he deliberately created, which is specially used to confuse the judgment of the outside world. Shangxian, you have come from afar, come in and sit down. Shu Yunian was very enthusiastic, and he felt a little familiar when he saw the people of Xuantian Holy Land. Okay. Lu Qingming hesitated again and again, and still felt that he should go deep into the tiger's den and continue to obtain more information. Master, are we really related to Xuantian Holy Land? The master of Fujian Peak said in surprise. Hey, I'll explain this to you later. Shu Yunian waved his hand. After Lu Qingming entered the interior of Xuantian sect, when he saw the fairyland-like scene in front of him, his expression was instantly stunned. Especially when he felt that the fairy energy between heaven and earth was far more surging than that of Xuantian Holy Land, Lu Qingming's mouth was dry and several question marks appeared in his head. What's going on? Why is the cultivation environment here stronger than that of Xuantian Holy Land? You know, my Xuantian Holy Land has 800 fairy veins, which is absolutely ahead of the major forces in the central region. Your Xuantian sect, as a branch, actually has more than us. Lu Qingming was very shocked and speechless. He suddenly had an illusion that this was the real Xuantian Holy Land. And the one in the central region was fake. Chapter 250. C-250. Is it all true? Lu Qingming, who came into Xuantian sect, was immediately confused. You know, Xuantian Holy Land is the strongest immortal sect in the central region, and it has been frantically plundering immortal veins to strengthen itself a while ago. I thought that in terms of the number of immortal veins, it has also reached the top position of the 4 holy lands, and is qualified to look down on all forces in Kunlun realm. As a result, when I saw it today, it was simply a slap in the face. Rumble. Suddenly, the originally clear sky suddenly became gray, and the dark black calamity clouds gathered over Xuantian sect. The thick clouds were surrounded by bright silver-white lightning. Which Taoist is going through the calamity here? Lu Qingming said in shock. Because he clearly felt that the level of this thunder calamity was much higher than what he had experienced at the beginning, and it was definitely a world of difference. Could it be the 49th thunder calamity, or the 69th thunder calamity? Coming from Xuantian Holy Land, he would have a more comprehensive understanding of thunder calamity and knew that there were detailed level divisions. Swish. A strong sense of oppression enveloped the area of thousands of miles. Lu Qingming's scalp immediately went numb, and he exclaimed in disbelief. This is the 8-9 Thunder Tribulation. The 8-9 Thunder Tribulation is the highest level of Thunder Tribulation. One must withstand the bombardment of 72 heavenly thunders before he can become an immortal. The difficulty is ridiculously high, of course, as long as you can get through it, it will be like a fish leaping over the Dragon Gate. Look at this direction, it's coming from Piao Miao Peak. It must be one of Junior Brother Yi's disciples who is going to pass the Thunder Tribulation and become an immortal. Haha, this is a good thing. Sect Master Shu Yunian laughed with joy. You mean Yi Junlin? Lu Qingming looked strange. Isn't this a puppet controlled by the Red Demon? Ever since he listened to the storytellers, oral recounting of those heaven-defying plots, he subconsciously determined that this was a puppet hyped up by public opinion. Shangxian, it seems that you have also heard of the legendary deeds of my junior brother Yi. Sect Master Shu Yunian stroked his goatee and smiled proudly. Lu Qingming's mouth twitched a few times. Not only have I heard of it, it's simply outrageous. Forget it, let's wait and see. Looking at the power of this thunder tribulation, that person will definitely not survive it. At this time, Li Wuji looked up at the sky above his head, the terrifying lightning brewing from the large group of tribulation clouds, and his tough face showed a solemn expression. Although it is not the chaotic version of the 8 or 9 thunder tribulation, this 8 or 9 thunder tribulation is already very strong. Master Li, I want to become an immortal and become stronger. Come on, if you have any moves, just use them. Li Wuji drew out his long sword and pointed it directly at the sky, shouting angrily with full momentum. Just when everyone was holding their breath and feeling nervous, a handsome guy appeared in the range of the thunder tribulation. He seemed to be unaware of the seriousness of the matter. His handsome face was smiling, as if he had met an old friend, and waved to the thunder tribulation familiarly. Hello, Xiaolei, we meet again. Seeing this, Lu Qingming instantly took a deep breath, his eyes looked like he was looking at a madman. The entire cultivation world knows that when someone is going through a thunder tribulation, a second unrelated person must not appear, otherwise the power of the thunder tribulation will increase and kill that person together. This is common sense. As a result, what is the situation now? Is that white-haired man looking for death? Shangxian, he is my junior brother Yi, and the one who is going through the thunder tribulation is his third disciple Li Wuji. Sect Master Shu Yunian introduced with a smile. Lu Qingming's eyes widened. It turned out that this person was Senior Yi in the eyes of the outside world, and also the master of the Red Demon Hong Chenny. Wait, your junior brother broke into the area of the thunder tribulation, aren't you afraid that he will be implicated? Noticing Shu Yunian's smiling face, Lu Qingming felt something was wrong. Is this a normal reaction? Why should I be afraid? Shu Yunian was stunned and asked seriously. Hearing this answer, Lu Qingming was stunned. He turned his head to look at other people and found that both the elders and disciples had an expectant expression. This time, Lu Qingming was even more confused. Could it be that the people here don't know the common sense about thunder tribulation? Or have their minds been twisted and are happy to see the death of their fellow disciples? Lu Qingming was puzzled and felt a chill on his back. He had to attribute this strange phenomenon to the trick of the Red Devil Hong Chenny. That's right, it's all his fault. Boom, the thunder was terrifying, and the thunder rolled in all directions. When it felt the second target appear, the thunder tribulation instinctively increased its power. But then, it saw a familiar figure that it didn't want to see again in its life, a silver-haired young man who gave it a huge psychological shadow. Master, why are you here? Li Wuji said. Yi Junlin walked over leisurely, and said in a relaxed tone, I thought about it, let Xiaolei make you become an immortal directly, so that you can save the tedious steps of passing the tribulation in the middle. Simple words, but contain incredible requirements. Fuck, Li Wuji was stunned, and almost couldn't even hold the knife steadily. Can you still play like this? I'm ready to be struck by lightning. Is it really okay to become an immortal in such a child's play? As his thoughts fluctuated, Li Wuji glanced at the tribulation cloud above his head, and a touch of fiery meaning flashed in his eyes. Who cares, anyway, you can become an immortal. What we mean is that some suffering is unnecessary. Take shortcuts when you need to take shortcuts. This is called flexibility. I am so familiar with Xiaolei, it's just a matter of saying hello. Yi Junlin said, facing the thunder tribulation above his head, with a meaningful tone, right, classmate Lei. Boom, the lightning in the tribulation cloud was fluctuating, enough to show that the thunder tribulation revealed strong emotional fluctuations. At this time, it felt very sad and angry. It had violated the rules before and opened a back door for the other party's eldest disciple, allowing him to become an immortal smoothly. Why is it still pushing it now? Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you can beat me? Lei Jia looked at the smiling Yi Junlin, and thought of the scene of being beaten last time, and couldn't help but tremble all over. It didn't want to experience the feeling of being beaten again. After struggling internally, Lei Jia had no choice but to compromise, and directly judged that Li Wuji had successfully passed the tribulation, and gave him a light of becoming an immortal. Swish! In countless shocked eyes, a bright and auspicious fairy light descended and enveloped Li Wuji. Li Wuji made a very comfortable sound, and every pore of his body was emitting immortal light, and his body was undergoing a huge change. His realm, from the perfect tribulation, soared all the way to the 5th level of the celestial immortal. That's right, as long as you pass the 8 or 9 thunder tribulations, you will start with the cultivation of the 5th level of the celestial immortal, and the quality of the immortal power is the 5th grade. Haha, I became an immortal, I am also an immortal. Li Wuji laughed excitedly. Keep up the good work. Yi Junlin said with a smile. Li Wuji knelt down with his fists clasped, and said respectfully, thank you, master. Hey, you should thank Xiao Lei, it's not me who made you an immortal. Yi Junlin waved his hands. Oh, right, right. Li Wuji reacted, and bowed to the large cloud of tribulation above his head and said, Senior Lei, your great kindness, I will never forget it. At this moment, Lei Jia's mood can no longer be described in any words. It wanted to get angry, but seeing the young man present, its dissatisfaction turned into depression. After so many years, it was the first time that someone directly skipped the intermediate steps and gave someone the light of becoming an immortal. Damn, it has to be Master Yi Feng. People with connections are strong. Hehe, people's connections are earned by fists. As expected, as long as you are strong enough, even the rules can be changed for you. Today, I really cut the cow's butt with a knife, and I opened my eyes. The Xuantian sect was full of people, and discussions were everywhere. Countless disciples and elders were full of admiration. At the same time, Lu Qingming was stunned. This scene directly overturned his cognition, and his face was full of shock. The thunder tribulation that dominated the fate of countless cultivators to become immortals was actually willing to listen to the words of Yi Junlin. Opening a back door for his apprentice openly. Am I hallucinating? What happened to this world? Suddenly, Lu Qingming remembered the storytelling he heard in the tea house, which just happened to correspond to the current situation. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, his whole body was sweating, his pupils were trembling violently, and his teeth were chattering. A terrible thought flashed through his mind, like a bolt of lightning. As the plot in Legend of Senior Yi, all true. Chapter 251. C251 The strongest relationship in history. Lu Qingming was terrified when he thought about it. He thought that the storytelling he heard in the tea house was all made up. Until he saw it with his own eyes, the Senior Yi mentioned by the Eastern region cultivator actually made Lei Jia obey him and let him do whatever he wanted. At this moment, Lu Qingming's worldview completely collapsed. Rumble. Above the sky, large patches of black robbery clouds were about to dissipate. Lei Jia felt very aggrieved and didn't want to stay and embarrass himself. Ahem. At this time, Yi Junlin pretended to cough dryly a few times, called Lei Jia who was about to leave, and said shamelessly. Xiao Lei, since you are here, don't rush to leave, and help my other 2 disciples and mounts become immortals. Boom. As soon as these words came out, in the sky, billions of bright world-destroying lightnings lingered, and the terrifying aura swept across most of the eastern region. Countless people were scared pale and cold. Lei Jia is angry, are you done? You have to push your luck, right? This is simply too much bullying. The cultivators of Xuantian sect were all stunned by Master Yi Feng's request. Is this really okay? I always feel that if you don't suffer a little to become an immortal, you can't be considered an immortal. A disciple with thick eyebrows and big eyes frowned. As soon as the voice fell, several fellow disciples around immediately refuted. You know shit, you have to be struck by lightning to have fun, right? Please, it is such a blessing for his cultivators to be able to pass the tribulation and become an immortal without injury these days. That's right, whoever regards passing the thunder tribulation as a blessing for a cultivator, I directly wish him good fortune like the East Sea. Get struck by lightning every day. The big mushroom king squatting in the pit looked stunned. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. Its body is a top-grade great medicine king. If it can pass the immortal tribulation, it can achieve the sublimation of life level and become a real immortal medicine. Not far away, Bai Xiaoxi knew nothing about becoming an immortal. She was like an innocent little girl, immersed in her own world. She took a freshly baked large puff and took a bite. Thick white cream flowed out. The corners of her mouth were all over. Become an immortal, I want to become an immortal too. The little boy with a middle-parted hair, who was transformed from Kunpeng, ran over in a hurry, looking at the sky with expectation, because if he could become an immortal directly, it would be very helpful for his growth. At this time, seeing the smiling face of the silver-haired young man, Lei Jia wanted to fight him to the death. To be fair, it didn't want to compromise anymore, because it would appear to be unprincipled. However, it didn't dare to give the other party face, because it really couldn't afford to offend the other party's identity. As an existence above the immortal emperor, even if its big brother Tiandao came, it had to treat him with courtesy. In this way, Lei Jia was in a dilemma. Xiaolei, we are so familiar with each other, you won't give me face, right? Yi Junlin said without blushing. Hearing this, Li Wuji silently raised his thumb. It has to be you, master. Boom, the thunder was deafening. It can be seen that Lei Jia's emotions fluctuated greatly. Come on, who is familiar with you? Also, don't call me Xiaolei. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. It seems that you are dissatisfied with my reasonable request, then I have to talk to you about reason. After speaking, Yi Junlin walked on the sky, with a meaningful smile, step by step towards Lei Jia. This action scared Lei Jia so much that he almost died on the spot. The psychological shadow left before was infinitely magnified at this moment. Don't come over. The frightened Lei Jia quickly sent down 3 fairy lights, which fell on the big Mushroom King, Bai Xiaoxi, and Kunpeng respectively. Instant, the sky was full of auspicious rays of light, and the curling immortal music filled all directions. Under the witness of countless people, 3 more immortals appeared. Fuck, this is possible. The cultivators of Xuantian sect were all stunned, and their admiration for Master Yifeng was like a surging river. From ancient times to the present, who can do this? Master Yifeng is really a god. Very good, being able to bend and stretch is a qualified thunder tribulation. Yi Junlin stopped the devil's steps and nodded with satisfaction. Thunder tribulation wants to cry but has no tears. It's too much, don't I have face? Forget it, anyway, they are all perfect in the realm of crossing the tribulation. When the time comes in the future, they will sooner or later trigger the immortal tribulation. Moreover, with this big man above the immortal emperor protecting them, what can I do to them? It's better to save trouble and don't have to make more trips. The thunder tribulation that quickly fled the scene comforted himself in his heart. Rumble, the dark clouds of the calamity dissipated, and the sky became clear again. The pressure covering most of the eastern region disappeared, and many cultivators breathed a sigh of relief, feeling like they had survived a calamity. At the same time, they looked strange, because the source of the thunder calamity seemed to come from Xuantian sect. Could it be that Senior Yi was doing something again? Lu Qingming, who witnessed the whole process, was shocked beyond words. I still remember how high and mighty the thunder calamity was when he first passed the thunder calamity, and how majestic and inviolable it was, as if it wanted to kill anyone. At that time, he was as small as an ant, and he prayed humbly in his heart that he could survive smoothly. It was just the simplest 29th thunder calamity, and he was safe after all. Now, when he saw the thunder calamity again, it was a completely different scene. He behaved extremely submissive and obedient in front of Yi Junlin, fearing that he would be beaten if he did something wrong. Is this still the thunder tribulation he knows? Where is your attitude? Where are your principles? Where is your integrity? Lu Qingming finally understood it. The so-called rules can be broken, and the weak can only abide by the rules honestly. The strong who have reached a certain level can change the rules. The next time someone complains to him about how dangerous it was to pass the thunder tribulation and how he narrowly escaped death, Lu Qingming will definitely sneer and respond on the spot. Haha, that's because your connections are not strong enough. After all, he has seen with his own eyes that even the iron-faced and impartial thunder tribulation has to be forced to open a back door. Directly avoid the process of being struck by lightning, and let the target become an immortal on the spot 100%. This magical operation made his scalp numb. Congratulations, everyone has become an immortal. Li Wuji smiled and bowed. Yes, it's a bit sudden. The big Mushroom King scratched his head, obviously not accepting the huge change in identity. Delicious. Bai Xiaoxi didn't take it seriously, immersed in the world of eating one puff at a time, her cute pink face full of satisfaction. Haha, I'm not a child anymore. The one who spoke was Kunpeng, who had grown from a child to a teenager. He excitedly put his hands on his waist and laughed with his head tilted back. Yi Junlin touched the boy's head, stared at his face and said seriously. Akun, I don't know why, I always feel that you are more and more like someone I know. The boy with a middle-parted hairstyle was stunned, blinked his big black and white eyes, and asked curiously, Master, who are you talking about? Yi Junlin said with an unfathomable look on his face, the secret cannot be revealed. Chapter 252. C252 Yi Junlin, are you talking about me? Brother Yi, congratulations, it's only been a short time, and everyone in your Piaomiao Peak has become an immortal. Shu Yunian walked over and said enviously. Yi Junlin waved his hand, not worth mentioning. Come, let me introduce you solemnly. This immortal is from the Xuantian Holy Land in the central region. This time he came to visit our Xuantian sect. Shu Yunian introduced in a friendly manner. Yi, Senior Yi, you can just call me Xiao Lu. At this moment, Lu Qingming, facing this giant, seemed extremely nervous and cramped. The sweat on his forehead was fine, and he dared not look directly at him. He said weakly. Things have developed to this point, and Lu Qingming no longer has the same cognition as before. Now he firmly believes that Yi Junlin is the identity of the immortal emperor. This is the strongest immortal emperor who fought against the 7 forbidden areas alone and quelled the dark turmoil, Emperor Yi Tian. Xuantian Holy Land. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. This name sounds related to the Xuantian sect. Seeing Yi Junlin's doubts, Lu Qingming quickly revealed everything about Master Yan's experience in Xuantian Holy Land. Xu Yunian beside him nodded repeatedly, indicating that every word was true. So that's how it is. Yi Junlin suddenly realized. Although he had no idea about the strongest holy land in Kunlun realm, he was still a little surprised that Xuantian sect could be related to it. So you came here to inspect our sect this time? Hearing this, Lu Qingming nodded subconsciously at first, and then shook his head wildly as if he had been electrocuted. No, I am here to express my condolences to our Xuantian sect on behalf of the Holy Lord. Seeing that Senior Yi and fellow disciples are living a very comfortable life, my heart is finally at ease. Lu Qingming was very clear-headed and did not dare to put on airs as a superior, for fear of displeasing this giant. Haha, our Xuantian sect and Xuantian Holy Land are of the same blood. Xu Yunian laughed and clapped his hands, feeling a sense of identity being accepted. Is it really like this? Yi Junlin stared at Lu Qingming's face and said seriously, You Xuantian Holy Land, don't you have any requirements for Xuantian sect? Lu Qingming was sweating all over, lowered his head and dared not look at him, and said with a guilty conscience, No. Really, absolutely true, I don't believe it. Lu Qingming was groaning inwardly. After seeing Yi Junlin's ability, how could he dare to reveal the instructions given by the Holy Lord? Before he came, he thought it was a relationship between the monarch and the minister, and a relationship between superiors and subordinates. Now, he thinks that Xuantian Holy Land is the force that should be attached to Xuantian sect. At this time, boom, a powerful fairy power wave came. In Lu Qingming's shocked eyes, a figure in red clothes with unparalleled grace walked out of the cave with fluttering sleeves. His face was extremely beautiful, with a striking flame mark on his forehead, and his iconic phoenix eyes exuded a terrifying aura. The red demon Hong Chenny. Lu Qingming's scalp was numb. After many years, he finally saw this big demon who once plunged the central region into chaos again. Hong Chenny, who had broken through the Xuanxian realm, was in a good mood and walked in a light-hearted manner. Suddenly, he seemed to see something and froze in place. In Hong Chenny's eyes, Li Wuji, Bai Shaoxi, the Great Mushroom King, and Kunpeng were all at the 5th level of the heavenly immortal realm. This sudden phenomenon surprised him. What's going on? Is this a group to survive the Thunder Tribulation? Li Wuji coughed a few times and said seriously, Brother Hong, as you can see, I just went through untold hardships and achieved the current position of heavenly immortal. Hong Chenny. Hong Chenny obviously didn't believe this statement. This one is fine, 2 are barely enough, but suddenly 4 of them all become celestial beings, how can they pass the Thunder Tribulation so quickly? Who are you kidding? Hong Chenny folded his arms and looked at Li Wuji quietly. The latter couldn't stand this contemptuous look and had to reveal the truth. After saying that, Li Wuji was afraid of being looked down upon by Hong Chenny, and solemnly said, I admit that I took a shortcut, but my determination to seek immortality is real. Hong Chenny was very depressed. He remembered that he was struck to death by the Thunder Tribulation at the beginning, but now, he was just killed. Zhao Hong, you came at the right time. This is a cultivator from the central region, from Xuantian Holy Land. This time he came to visit our Xuantian sect on purpose. The relationship between our sect and the Holy Land is extraordinary. Yi Junlin said. Xuantian Holy Land. Hearing these 4 words, Hong Chenny narrowed his eyes slightly, revealing a sharp brilliance in his eyes, and examined Lu Qingming. Hong Jiaoju, Lu Qingming was sweating profusely, his legs were shaking. Facing the oppression of this great demon, he had to force a stiff smile on his face, which was uglier than crying. Hong Chenny smiled and said, When did the people from the First Holy Land in the central region condescend to come to this remote place? Hong Jiaoju, you are joking. Our Xuantian Holy Land and Xuantian sect are of the same blood. Hong Jiaoju is also from Xuantian sect, which is even closer. Lu Qingming said nervously. Xuantian Holy Land thought highly of itself back then, but it didn't directly attack my fire worship demon sect. I won't settle this account with you, but don't try to get close to me. Hong Chenny sneered. Perhaps Xuantian Holy Land felt that the fire worship demon sect was at the end of its rope, and it was cherishing its wings, so it did not intervene in the war in person but waited and watched. Hong Chenny hated the second-ranked Taichu Holy Land the most. To this day, those who took action are still vivid in my mind. Yes, 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 Lu Qingming said hurriedly. At the same time, he was very envious in his heart. No wonder the big devil who used to be in exile in the eastern region could reach this point. It turned out that he worshipped a master with a great background. This luck is beyond words. It's a pity that those guys in the Central Territory are still kept in the dark, thinking that they can still suppress this demon like they did back then. Little did I know, times have changed. Shu Yunian and the others were secretly frightened when they heard his conversation. No wonder junior brother Yi's eldest disciple was so extraordinary before. It turned out that he was already a strong man with a strong background in the Central Territory. Since we have come from afar, we should show our friendship as landlords and at the same time celebrate the Xuantian sect's birth of several more immortals. Yi Junlin said seriously, in this case, I suggest you start with Hot Pot. Xiao He, you will be the source. Big Mushroom King. Sure enough, you still haven't escaped this disaster. The Big Mushroom King, who was originally overjoyed that he had transformed into a fairy medicine, suddenly realized that his status had not changed at all. Ooh. Just think of it as a bath, be patient and let it pass. The Big Mushroom King was about to cry but had no tears, so he comforted himself in his heart. Subsequently, the hot pot soup made from the Big Mushroom King was ready. Bai Xiaoxi carefully poured all the ingredients into the large hot pot. Next to him was Hong Chenny, who was accurately controlling the heat. Li Wuji was cheering him up. It can be said that everyone is doing his best and the division of labor is clear. Lu Qingming was stunned. Is this the true use of an apprentice? But once he said it, Lu Qingming, as an envoy, was quite touched by being treated so hospitably. His favorability towards Xuantian sect increased significantly, and he would have to speak well in front of the Holy Lord after returning. Soon, everyone was sitting around eating hot pot. The hot pot is steaming hot and the ingredients are very fresh, especially the base soup with mushrooms. The taste is improved by several levels, making people have endless aftertaste after eating it. During this period, Lu Qingming felt that this atmosphere was really warm and he was so moved that he passed the complete version of Xuantian Kung to the sect leader Shu Yunian on the spot. Shu Yunian was very emotional about this. The complete version of Xuantian Kung was indeed much stronger than the incomplete version. There is such a huge gap between heaven and earth, no wonder it is Xuantian Holy Land's unique skill. The next step is to popularize Xuantian Kung in the sect, so that the strength of the entire sect will skyrocket. Just thinking about it makes Shu Yunian very excited. Watching Yi Junlin eating hot pot, Lu Qingming suddenly remembered the storytelling content in the tea house and sighed from the bottom of his heart. Senior Yi, when I learned that you single-handedly quelled the dark turmoil and suppressed the masters of the 7 restricted areas, I was so impressed that I fell to the ground with admiration. Having you in the Kunlun realm is a blessing to the common people and a great blessing to the world. Hear the words. Yi Junlin was stunned on the spot. What the hell? Chapter 253. C253. How about you take the position of sect master? Yi Junlin was confused by Lu Qingming's confusing remarks. Have I done this before? Why don't you remember it? Li Wuji said proudly. Dao Yu, it seems that you also know the true identity of my master. How about it? Are you surprised? Lu Qingming sighed. Hey, I was skeptical at first, but now I completely believe that there are such people in the world. Yi Junlin's face changed, and he was filled with disbelief. What's going on? Could it be that my identity as a time traveler has been exposed? Or do they know that I have a system? It shouldn't be. Do people in this world have such a concept in their minds? Master, it seems that your origins have been spread in the outside world. Li Wuji sighed. Shu Yunian frowned. Could it be that the little junior brother has another identity? But thinking of the previous experiences, he felt that there was a lot of background. Yi Junlin was very confused. He has always felt that there is no other person in this world who knows what a time traveler is and what a system is. Because this is a concept that is completely beyond cognition. As a result, what is going on now? Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes slightly, staring at Lu Qingming, and his tone was inexplicably oppressive. You really know my identity. Lu Qingming's hair stood up, and he was afraid that he would say it too late and hurriedly said, Senior Yi, calm down. I also accidentally learned that you are the strongest immortal emperor back then, Yi Tiandi. To be honest, I am short-sighted and had doubts at the beginning, but now, I completely believe it. Yi Junlin, are you also good at making up your mind? When did I become an immortal emperor? And the strongest immortal emperor, Yi Tiandi. Hiss, but this title sounds quite domineering and majestic. Junior brother Yi, it turns out that you are actually, Shu Yunian was stunned, and his heart seemed to be overturned. If this happened to someone else, he would think it was nonsense and ridiculous. But the problem is that after witnessing the legendary rise of his junior brother and his heaven-defying operation of even suppressing the thunder tribulation, he had to agree with this statement. After all, the brilliance of this young man was too dazzling, and what he did was unique and too shocking, so he couldn't help but believe it. The most confused person in the audience was Yi Junlin himself, with a few black lines on his forehead and his mouth twitching a few times. Good guy, it turns out that I thought too much before. But how to deal with it now? Senior Yi, I admire your glorious deeds very much, especially when you turned your back on all living beings and fought the Lord of the Seven Forbidden Areas, and shouted that I was the Emperor of Heaven. When you suppressed all the enemies in the world, I was so excited that my blood boiled. Recalling the content of the storytelling, Lu Qingming was excited and his eyes showed fanaticism. It feels like a novel shining into reality, and the protagonist is right in front of you. Junior brother Yi, is this all true? Shu Yunian couldn't imagine that this young man had such an earth-shaking experience. Yi Junlin was also confused. No, people nowadays have too much imagination, right? It hasn't been long since then, and they have already made up my identity clearly. Looking at Lu Qingming's admiring eyes, Yi Junlin sighed inwardly. When public opinion occupies the high ground and rumors are flying everywhere, even if they are false, they will become true. Now, people outside have long identified him as Yi Tiandi, a great hero who once saved Kunlun realm. Even if he stands up to clarify now, what's the use? It's better to make a mistake, anyway, it won't cause any loss to him. Having made up his mind, Yi Junlin raised his face again, his eyes were full of vicissitudes, and he said with melancholy, "Everyone, I was seriously injured after the war, and the changes in the environment of Kunlun realm forced me to fall into a long sleep. I didn't wake up until this era. I didn't expect that the world has changed a lot. I knew it was like this." Li Wuji slapped his thigh and said excitedly. Sure enough, Hong Chenyi nodded in agreement. Lu Qingming, with tears in his eyes, said with emotion, "Senior Yi, the great achievements you have made will be remembered forever by future generations." He could already imagine that Yi Tiandi, who had guarded Kunlun realm in the past, woke up after a long time and found that his confidant, relatives and friends had passed away. How heavy his mood would be when he felt lonely, sad, and confused. Yi Junlin glanced at Lu Qingming speechlessly. This is probably a weird brain, right? Junior brother Yi, if that's the case, then why did you join Xuantian sect in the first place? And what about your cultivation? Shu Yunian asked tentatively, thinking of the past. Was this intentional, or was there another reason? In response, Yi Junlin smiled faintly. Actually, after I woke up, I lost a lot of memories, so I joined Xuantian sect as a mortal. Later, I followed the rules and cultivated to the Jindan stage, but I accidentally fell to the bottom. Under the heavy mental blow, I gradually found my former self and slowly unlocked the power of this body. Hearing this explanation, Shu Yunian immediately recalled that the other party had broken through to the Jindan stage with high spirits, and later when he was out on a mission, he was attacked by an evil cultivator and his meridians were destroyed. Then he stayed in the mountains for decades, until the Qingpeng Demon King came out of the mountain. Not only did his cultivation level reach a higher level, but even his temperament seemed to have changed. Thinking carefully, there are indeed clues. Then how should I address you in the future? Should I call you Senior Yi or Emperor Yi Tian? Shu Yunian paused and asked very tactfully. In the past, I thought that we were all from the same sect, and no matter how strong we became, we could address each other by the seniority when we became disciples, which seemed intimate. But now, after learning about the true identity of his junior brother, Shu Yunian dared not maintain the previous concept. Seeing Shu Yunian suddenly become reserved, Yi Junlin was also helpless. Did you also follow suit? How about this, I'll just let you be the sect leader. Shu Yunian said with an idea. Yi Junlin looked strange. He originally wanted to fool around, but he gave up his position on the spot. But he also understood. After all, with the status of the immortal emperor, anyone would feel huge pressure. Yi Junlin waved his hand. I'm not interested in the position of sect leader, and I don't want to interfere in the affairs of the sect. Let you do it. Shu Yunian smiled bitterly. Although Xuantian sect is now the first immortal sect in the East region, and the position of the sect master is so high and noble, everyone in the outside world knows that the key to stability is not the sect master, but the head of Piao Miao Peak. So, what difference does it make whether to give up the position or not? In this case, I will call you Yi Taishang. From now on, you will be the honorary Taishang elder of Xuantian sect. This is higher than the status of the sect master and is unique. Shu Yunian was very persistent and insisted on giving Yi Junlin a new title, so that it would be in line with the identity of the immortal emperor. Whatever. Yi Junlin waved his hand. He was really speechless. Was it necessary to make such a fuss? Lu Qingming looked at Shu Yunian's performance with approval in his eyes. You are so good at being a person. I guess you have read Emotional Intelligence. Chapter 254. C254 Zhang Tianming, do you think I will believe it? Seeing Yi Junlin accept this new identity, Shu Yunian breathed a sigh of relief. Sometimes, people can refuse it, but you can't refuse it. Those in high positions must understand this even more. After finishing the sumptuous hot pot dinner, Lu Qingming officially went back to work. This trip to the eastern region was really an eye-opener for him. Xiao Lu, walk slowly. Yi Junlin leaned on the reclining chair after eating and drinking, and said with a contented look on his face. It's completely unlike the domineering Emperor Yi Tian in the storybook. But Lu Qingming knew that this was all Senior Yi's appearance. A strong man who has reached this level no longer needs to deliberately rely on his image to maintain his status in people's hearts. This is returning to nature, the true great state of perfection and transcendence. Senior Yi, see you again if we are destined. Lu Qingming respectfully bowed his hands. Then, it turned into a bright fairy light and fled to the sky, spanning thousands of miles of mountains and rivers in the blink of an eye. Are you eating hot pot? It happened that at this time, the master of Zhangjian Peak, who was walking out of the cave, noticed that Piao Miao Peak was very lively, so he came over specially. When he saw that only the base of the hot pot was eaten, he felt a little regretful on his face. Junior brother Yi, you are really shameless. You don't call senior brother Jian when you eat hot pot. The master of Hidden Sword Peak flattened his mouth. The words just fell. Yi Junlin, who was lazily leaning on the recliner, replied directly. The labor and management eat hot pot, and you eat the hot pot base. The master of Hidden Sword Peak. Hey, what's going on with this inexplicable rhyme? And why do you have to let me eat the hot pot base? Wait, this base material looks good too. I'll try. Junior brother Jian, I want to solemnly remind you that from now on, we will all call junior brother Yi Taishang Yi to show respect. Shu Yunian said in a deep voice with his hands behind his back. Yi, your majesty Yi. The master of Hidden Sword Peak said in surprise. That's right, Shu Yunian nodded. Okay, whatever you want to call me is fine. As the master of Hidden Sword Peak spoke, he took the chopsticks and rubbed them on his sleeves. Then he squatted on a chair and pinched the base ingredients into the pot. Then he stuffed it into his mouth without any image and chewed it with relish. Junior brother Yi, your hot pot base is quite delicious. See it, there were several black lines hanging on Shu Yunian's forehead. Forget it, just be happy. Some days passed. Zongyu. Xuantian Holy Land. In the main hall, a stalwart middle-aged man put his hands behind his back, looked at the young man in front of him, smiled and nodded. You really came back alive. It seems that the mission is going very smoothly. Lu Qingming cupped his hands and said, reporting to the Holy Master, I am lucky enough to live up to my destiny and successfully enter the Xuantian sect to find out the situation. This time I have gained a huge harvest. Oh, Holy Lord Xuantian, Zhang Tianming became interested, explain in detail. Red Devil Hong Chenyi is true of the Xuantian sect in the eastern region, but he is not secretly controlling the Xuantian sect as we thought. Now he is an official disciple of the Xuantian sect, with a master behind him. Lu Qingming said truthfully. Is there still this matter? Zhang Tianming was a little surprised. Based on his early impression of Red Demon Hong Chenyi, he was a master who was arrogant and unwilling to bow his head. How could he go to that backward eastern region and be willing to become his disciple? Then how powerful must his master be? Zhang Tianming thought about something and pondered. Could this be an illusion created by the devil to paralyze our cognition? The so-called master is just a puppet he supports. Lu Qingming sighed. I thought so at first, but later I found out after I went there that Hong Chenyi did it willingly because his master Yi Junlin has unfathomable strength. Yi Junlin. Zhang Tianming narrowed his eyes. Holy Lord, you don't know something. There were 1 billion alien immortals who invaded the eastern region before, but he cut off 100 million with one sword. He only used 10 swords to kill all 1 billion alien immortals. Also, when Hong Chenny survived the Thunder Tribulation, he almost died. At the critical moment, it was Senior Yi who took action and beat the Thunder Tribulation away. Hear this. Jiang Tianming almost suspected that his ears had heard wrongly, and he froze on the spot. Then, when he reacted, his eyes looked like he was looking at a big fool. 1 billion alien immortals. This is 1 billion. Killed 100 million people with one sword, and it was done with only 10 swipes. You are using the immortal as firewood. Even if it's chopping firewood, it's not that outrageous, right? As for what you said about driving away the Thunder Tribulation, listen to it for yourself. Is this a human saying? What is Thunder Tribulation? Even a 3-year-old child in the Central Realm knows about the terrifying existence that dominates the transformation of hundreds of millions of monks into immortals. Thunder Calamity cannot be humiliated, and those who violate it will be chopped into ashes. You, Lu Qingming, actually keep saying that Yi Junlin can beat Lei Jia. It is simply the most ridiculous thing in the world. If this thing is true, I am willing to give up the position of Holy Lord to Na Yi Junlin. Holy Lord, please don't look at me like this, it makes me look like a bad guy. Lu Qingming was embarrassed. He could understand his reaction when he heard these words, because he didn't believe it at first. Aren't you now? Jiang Tianming said coldly. Lu Qingming's self-esteem was stung, like a cat whose tail was stepped on, and he hurriedly said. Holy Lord, I swear to God, everything I said is true. And you would never guess that Hong Chenny's master has an amazing identity. His background is beyond your imagination. Jiang Tianming suppressed his anger and said, go on. Senior Yi is actually the strongest immortal emperor in Kunlun realm back then. He is called Emperor Yi Tian. He once suppressed the dark turmoil, fought bloody battles with the masters of the 7 forbidden areas alone, and protected the people of the world. Lu Qingming said excitedly. Jiang Tianming's forehead was bulging with veins, and his inner anger reached its peak. He roared, enough. Boom boom, the roar that resounded through the sky contained terrifying power, shaking the entire Xuantian Holy Land. Holy Lord, Lu Qingming was so scared that his scalp was numb and his head was buzzing. Looking at the angry middle-aged man in front of him, he walked towards him step by step with a sense of oppression. What about suppressing the dark turmoil and pacifying the 7 forbidden areas? Where did you hear this story? It's so exaggerated. Lu Qingming, I think you are confused. The Holy Lord is wrong. Senior Yi is really the Emperor Yi Tian of the past. His achievements should not be forgotten by the world. Please be more respectful. Okay, you dare to talk back. Jiang Tianming was so angry that he had never seen such a weird thing in his life. He sent an envoy over, but he was brainwashed by the other party. What kind of magic operation is this? Yi Tiandi suppressed the dark turmoil, it's a fabrication, it's really a fabrication. I think you have been bewitched by the red demon Hong Chenny, which is why you are like this now. Come on, drag Elder Lu down and put him in the sky prison. Jiang Tianming gave an order. Several elders appeared and carried Lu Qingming out. Lu Qingming panicked, completely panicked. I didn't expect that I would just have a hot pot meal, but after returning, I didn't get any benefits and had to face jail. What kind of thing is this? Holy Lord, everything I said is true. You have to believe me, Holy Lord. Woo woo. Chapter 255. C255. You make me feel sick. Lu Qingming felt so miserable. He might as well have surrendered to Xuantian sect at that time. He came back from a long distance to report, but he was still locked up as a madman. Who could be more miserable than him? But no matter how he called and begged, he could not change the miserable fate of being imprisoned in Tianlao. Hearing the crying and shouting outside getting smaller and smaller, Jiang Tianming's angry face eased. Humph, the dead duck is stubborn. He shook his sleeves. Jiang Tianming's eyes kept changing, and he said coldly, it seems that Xuantian sect is indeed controlled by the red demon. Even the people I sent out had their memories tampered with by him. What a vicious method. He didn't believe the absurd deeds Lu Qingming said, which were even more outrageous than those made up by the storytellers in the central region. The only possibility is that the red demon is frantically building momentum for the so-called Senior Yi to create a deterrent effect on the central region. Unfortunately, this trick is too clumsy, and only fools will be scared. You can cheat others, but don't cheat yourself. Since you want to play, I'll let your enemies play with you. Jiang Tianming sneered and began to issue orders to the outside world. Wuji Dao sect, Sect Master Feng Qingyang received the order from Xuantian Saint Lord, and the stone hanging in his heart these days finally fell. Now, he can finally fulfill the previous statement and officially launch a crusade against the red demon far away in the East region. Otherwise, the demon-killing order he issued with great fanfare some time ago would have been a waste of time. After all, there was no action for a long time, and there were more rumors from the outside world. They all thought he was retreating at the last minute and just talking nonsense. Send an order, mobilize the sect army. Follow me to the east to kill demons. The majestic and loud voice came out of the hall, resounding like thunder over the Wuji Dao sect. Ding ding ding, the rapid ringing of the bell rang. Not only the Wuji Dao sect, but also Dao sects were taking action one after another at this time. Swish, swish, swishing, the immortals all over the sky appeared at the same time, exuding a terrifying aura. Boom, the central region was like a pot of boiling water. The cultivators' scalps were numb, and they were shocked, but they were more convinced of the fate of the red demon's defeat. Oh my goodness, the number of these immortals is at least 30,000, right? Hiss, is this the foundation of the 8 major sects? Well, it seems that only the Kangming Dao sect has not been dispatched. It is said that they are holding a funeral for Elder Wei. Fuck, it's been so many days, and the funeral hasn't ended yet. Seeing that the demon-killing war suddenly started, the various doujos in the central region were in a sensation, and all the music was urgently interrupting this heavy news. After all, the target of this crusade is the red demon Hong Chenny, who was once a powerful figure and founded the fire-worshipping demon sect. Kangming Dao sect. At the funeral, Yi Wusheng knelt alone in front of the portrait, feeling an unspeakable bitterness in his heart. I thought the fight would start soon, so I didn't take the funeral seriously. But somehow, Wuji Dao sect didn't take any action, so he had to pretend to be serious and hold a grand funeral on the same day to cover up and confuse the outside world. I thought that after a few days of delay, Wuji Dao sect would take action, but I didn't expect that the delay would really last for 49 days. During this period, he was afraid that the spies would find out, so he had to pretend to be sad and stay at the funeral to mourn for Elder Wei. Yi Wusheng knew very well that with Feng Qingyang's temperament, he would definitely send someone to secretly watch him. If he showed his hand at this time, the other party would be suspicious and re-evaluate the threat of Red Demon Hong Chenny. At that time, wouldn't it be a waste of resources and a big head? No, Yi Wusheng told himself that he had to be patient. As the saying goes, a little impatience will lead to a big mess. Isn't it just acting? Then I will act the whole set. That's it. Yi Wusheng had been staying at the funeral, suffering from the boring wait. Looking at the huge portrait in front of him, in which Elder Wei was smiling, Yi Wusheng suddenly had an illusion that the other party was laughing at him, and he felt more and more aggrieved. Ah, so angry. But there was no way, as long as Wuji Dao sect did not take action, his funeral would have to continue. Just then, the elder's excited voice came from behind, report to the sect master. The 7 major Dao sects have begun to act. The immortal army is heading towards the east region. Yi Wusheng raised his head suddenly, and his breathing became heavy in an instant. Is this true? He finally didn't have to pretend to be like a clown, kneeling at the funeral, and setting an example for the outside world. After being hit by great happiness, Yi Wusheng's mood instantly reached a peak from lows, and he felt that the bitterness had paid off and the clouds had cleared. The next second, Yi Wusheng's shoulders twitched, and he raised his head and laughed wildly, ha ha ha. He he he. The elders behind him were stunned. Is he crazy with joy? Gradually, Yi Wusheng stopped laughing wildly, stood up and looked at the portrait of Elder Wei in front of him, and said coldly. These days, you make me feel sick. After saying that, he waved his sleeves, and the portrait turned into dust and disappeared in the air, along with the entire funeral arrangement, all turned into nothing. Yi Wusheng, who was revived with full blood, swept away the previous depression and frustration. At this moment, he was in high spirits and eager to show his strength. Because Yi Wusheng knew very well that this mighty coalition of immortals would never come back since they set out on the road to the east. Taking advantage of this rare opportunity, he can not only take back the lost resource land of Kangming Dao sect, but also plunder the territories of the other 7 Dao sects without restraint. Haha, you have treated me as a soft persimmon before, this time I, Yi, can finally be completely tough. At the same time, Taichu Holy Land, in a simple thatched house. An old man wearing a wide white linen robe and a compassionate face sat cross-legged quietly, exuding a misty and boundless immortal aura. Suddenly, the elder's respectful report came from outside. Holy Lord, Wuji Dao sect has begun to act. Swish. The Holy Lord of Taichu suddenly opened his eyes, with a terrifying scene of the stars disappearing in his eyes, and his thin lips moved slightly, spitting out a word, "Go down." Yes, in the thatched house, the Holy Lord of Taichu was motionless like a stone sculpture, thinking deeply. In the Immortal War, he was the strongest person who participated in the crusade against Hong Chenny with an immortal weapon. From the outside, it seems that the Holy Lord of Taichu hates evil, but in fact, there is another hidden story behind this. In addition to a group of fanatical believers, there was also the old lecher of the Holy Lord of Taichu who coveted Hong Chenny's beauty. He has a special hobby, that is, he likes beauty, and he will not refuse anyone, whether male or female. Especially men, which will make him more excited. At that time, the Holy Lord of Taichu even secretly revealed to Hong Chenny that as long as Hong Chenny was willing to abandon his cultivation and serve him, he would be willing to give Hong Chenny a way out. After all, Hong Chenny, as a giant of the magic way and the leader of the fire-worshipping demon cult, was well known in the central region. If such a person was trained, it would undoubtedly make him feel extremely accomplished. In the eyes of the Holy Lord of Taichu, he was already quite sincere. He dared to take a huge risk to protect this big devil, which was contrary to his noble status as the leader of the Holy Land of Taichu. Unexpectedly, Hong Chenny not only refused directly, but also mocked him as a dead old pervert, which shocked and angered the Lord of Taichu, and broke his defense on the spot. Soon, the Immortal War broke out. The Lord of Taichu personally went to the battlefield, holding the immortal weapon and beating Hong Chenny step by step. It can be said that he was determined to kill him. Unfortunately, things did not go as he wished, and the Red Devil of that year finally appeared again. At this time, the Lord of Taichu sighed. He knew Hong Chenny's character. With the other party's revengeful temperament, if he came back, he would definitely not escape the blame. As for Feng Qingyong and his vigorous crusade, the Lord of Taichu was actually not optimistic. Many years ago, Hong Chenny cultivated to the 9th level of the true immortal with his outstanding talent, and his fighting talent was top-notch. If he had not participated in the crusade with the immortal weapon, the Immortal War might have changed. Now, the world has changed drastically, and it is unknown to what extent the great devil who called the wind and rain back then would have reached. The Holy Lord of Taichu felt uneasy about this. Alas, I can only ask that person for help. The old man sighed helplessly. In the thatched house, the old man in a linen robe sitting cross-legged on the futon disappeared in an instant. When he appeared again, he had come to an underground palace built at the bottom of the Holy Land of Taichu. The palace was gloomy and filled with a pungent smell of blood. The Holy Lord of Taichu walked towards the depths of the palace, his expression became more and more complicated, and what came into view was a super-large blood pool, which was bubbling with bubbles, and countless shriveled corpses were floating on it, including men, women, young and old, and the scene was horrible. Master Shui Tu, I have a request. The old face of the Holy Lord of Taichu showed a respectful look, and he bowed and said. As soon as the voice fell, the blood pool was boiling. A tall figure with flesh wings on its back slowly emerged from the blood. His black hair was draped over his shoulders and chest, his complexion was sickly pale, his face was thin, his cheekbones were prominent, his eyes were a strange blood red, and he looked cold and indifferent. It was obvious that this man was not a human. Boom. With his appearance, the pressure in the palace was as heavy as a mountain, and the heart of the Taichu Saint Lord was almost suffocated. The Taichu Saint Lord was secretly shocked. To what extent has this man's strength recovered? Chapter 256. C256 Yes, I am an old bastard. When the great change of heaven and earth began, a mysterious man came to the door without anyone noticing, claiming that he could be given immortality and could also be the future lord of the central realm, provided that he cooperated with him. At that time, the Holy Lord Taichu naturally did not believe it, so he took action to suppress this person. As a result, his strength was unable to shake the other party. Only then did he realize that the other party's strength was far beyond his imagination. Holy Lord Taichu was shocked, but also fearful, because the entire central territory, not even Holy Lord Xuantian Zhang Tianming, could do this. Where did this peerless powerhouse come from? Forced to have no choice, Holy Lord Taichu had no choice but to give in. Unexpectedly, the benefits given by the other party were too many, and he gradually no longer had any resistance. Through a few words, I learned that the other party was an undead blood clan from outside the territory, one of the major clans belonging to the Nine Nether Realm. In order to enter the Kunlun realm, they had to pay a huge price and needed to slowly recover their vitality. The shortcut to recovery is to draw blood that contains the essence of life. Therefore, the next cooperation came about. Holy Lord Taichu knew very well that this kind of behavior was obviously evil in the world of cultivation, and once he was discovered, his reputation would be ruined. But through communication, we learned that with the beginning of the Age of Great Conflict, the future Kunlun realm will inevitably be involved in the battle between Shenting and Juyu. The creatures of Kunlun realm, who are single and weak, will have no room to resist at that time. It is better to take advantage of this opportunity and find a strong backer to make plans. Later, the Holy Lord Taichu reached a cooperation with the other party and used his own identity as a cover to allow the vampire to stay in the underground palace and restore his cultivation by devouring human blood essence. Who would have thought that the Holy Land of Taichu, which was once known as the Light of Righteousness, has now become a den of alien races from outside the territory, who rely on betraying their compatriots to gain a future. Correspondingly, Holy Lord Taichu also obtained an immortal body. Not only did his cultivation speed become faster, but his physical body self-healing was also far superior to that of an ordinary immortal body. Although he is currently in the 9th level of the Celestial Immortal, even if he is injured by a high-grade Xuanxian-level fairy weapon, his injuries can be quickly restored to perfection. This self-healing ability can be described as terrifying. No wonder it is called immortal. The Holy Lord Taichu suddenly remembered that there was a big demon who roamed the central territory back then, called Shi Tianju, who was known as the Blood Demon. His reputation was not weaker than that of the Red Demon Hong Chenny. He remembered the immortal blood body and self-healing ability created by the other party. It was also considered a perversion at the time. But compared to his current immortal body, it pales into insignificance. With this body, Holy Lord Taichu is confident that he can remain invincible in the celestial immortal realm and fight against the Xuanxian. But even so, the Holy Lord Taichu was very afraid of Red Demon Hong Chenny. He trusted his intuition, and the other party was not as simple as he thought. To be on the safe side, it would be safer to turn to this adult for help. "What's the matter? Tell me," Shui Tu said coldly. Holy Lord Taichu's heart skipped a beat, and he didn't dare to talk about the reason carelessly. "This is what happened." After listening, Shui Tu's eyes flashed and he said secretly, "Interesting. I happen to need a lot of life essence and blood from strong men. This eastern region is a good place to go. Nowadays, the Kunlun world has a very special status in the universe. As the eternal world that once ranked second in the divine court, after its revival, the value contained in it is very huge. As for Juyu, who had suffered a loss from the Kunlun realm back then, he had always held a grudge. After the immortal realm was contained, all the realms of Juyu were gearing up and eyeing the Kunlun realm. But if you want to sneak in, you must first pass through the boundary wall. The creatures in the 9 Nether realm are all foreigners. It is extremely difficult and almost impossible to forcefully enter the Kunlun realm, which is equivalent to a narrow escape from death. The Immortal Vampire clan is one of the top clans in Juyu. Their racial talent is a super abnormal body self-healing ability, so the chance of passing by force will be greater. Even so, under the heavy protection of various treasures, except for the Blood Butcher who was able to enter smoothly, several other powerful vampires could not survive and were wiped out on the spot. Because the destination was the Central Territory, and it was at this stage of the recovery of heaven and earth, Shui Tu began to lurk in secret, observing the local power background. He unexpectedly discovered that the Kunlun realm was not as weak as rumored. He was keenly aware that there were powerful immortals who were suspected to have revived from ancient times and were also hiding behind the scenes in the Central Realm. This is a dangerous signal that will seriously hinder his actions in the Kunlun realm. In order to recover his cultivation faster and seize the opportunity, Shui Tu approached the Holy Lord of Taichu Holy Land to cooperate. Through secret observation, Shui Tu knew that among the Holy Lords of the 4 Holy Lands, this sanctimonious old man was actually an out-and-out old pervert. This kind of person is most likely to instigate rebellion. Sure enough, the plan went smoothly. During this period, Shui Tu relied on the influence of the Holy Land of Taichu to cover up his atrocities of devouring countless powerful human beings. His cultivation did recover quickly, but it was still not enough to gain a dominant position in the future. When he heard the news revealed by Holy Lord Taichu, Shui Tu immediately had a plan in mind. Let's not talk about how powerful the Red Demon Red Chenny is, just take the 30,000 Immortals army of the 7th Avenue sect, it is quite tempting. In addition, there are all the people in the eastern region. These are great supplements. Thoughts are turning. Shui Tu's hair was dancing wildly, and his whole body released strange energy fluctuations. In the shocked eyes of the Holy Lord Taichu, a body of flesh and blood slowly separated from Shui Tu's body. The flesh and blood on its body was squirming crazily, and gradually transformed into the same appearance as Shui Tu. Immortal level aura. Let my clone go to the eastern region. Shui Tu said coldly. Aha! The clone disappeared in place. The pupils of the Holy Lord in the beginning were trembling, and even one of his clones had immortal lord level cultivation. So how high should the true state of the original body be? It's scary to think about it. Thank you, Master Shuitu. Holy Lord Taichu said respectfully. Haha, when I return to the critical point of the rules of this world, I will be sure to deal with those old guys. Shuitu said meaningfully. The Holy Lord Taichu's heart trembled, and many thoughts flashed through his mind. Even this one has to be careful. Is there a strong person in the middle realm that he doesn't know about? The Holy Lord Taichu was very depressed. He thought that after the great changes in the world, strong men of their level would be able to use this force to rise to the top. However, things developed beyond expectations. Where did these unknown strong men come from? But fortunately, he was lucky to be able to hug this thigh in time. No matter how big the wind and waves are in the future, he will be able to move forward steadily with the help of this sailboat. As for the other forces in the central region, their fate is uncertain. And if he behaves well, he will be able to become the master of this middle domain in the future. What is this concept? In the past, even Zhang Tianming, the Holy Lord of Xuantian Holy Land, did not have this qualification in his heyday. Is there anything else you want? Shui Tu felt very uneasy when he saw this old pervert standing there with his expression changing constantly. The Holy Lord Taichu retracted his thoughts and said quickly, Lord Blood Slaughter, to be honest, since you gave me the immortal body, I have indeed made a lot of profits, but I have always felt weird recently, and I have a desire for human blood. Please tell me why. This feeling has become more and more serious recently. For example, yesterday he was feasting on several beautiful female cultivators in the palace, and suddenly his desire for blood reached its peak. Unable to control his bloodthirst, he sucked those female cultivators into shriveled human skin. After inhaling, I feel refreshed instantly. Regarding this phenomenon, Holy Lord Taichu vaguely thought of some possibility, but he was not sure. Hear the words. Shuitu showed his sharp fangs and sneered, I will help transform your body into an immortal body. That is a great blessing. From now on, you will be a member of my immortal vampire clan. What's so strange about sucking some human blood? Quote. What? Holy Lord Taichu took a few steps back and said with a shocked expression. I'm not human anymore. He didn't expect that he would lose his identity as a human being. The human race is inherently despicable. I transformed you into a noble undead vampire. It is your greatest honor. You actually have any objections? Shuitu snorted coldly. Holy Lord Taichu had beads of sweat dripping from his forehead, and said quickly, I don't dare. In fact, I am very satisfied with this new identity. He then thought about it, considering the current situation, it would be nice not to be a human being. The racial talents of the vampires really have advantages. That's pretty much it. Seeing that the old man acted sincerely, Shuitu's gloomy expression gradually improved. Don't be too happy. This method of reincarnation cannot make you an orthodox immortal vampire. It is limited to mixed blood vampires, but it has a higher status than a blood servant. If you, the human race, say it differently, you are a bastard now. Bastard, bastard. The corners of Holy Lord Taichu's eyes twitched, and he was very resistant to this title in his heart. That's right, and he's still an old bastard. Looking at the old man in linen robes, Shuitu said very straightforwardly. In the past, if he was insulted like this, Holy Lord Taichu would definitely get furious and tear up his face on the spot. But now, for this unparalleled powerful man, he could only pretend to smile. Yes, yes, you are right. Holy Lord Taichu seriously suspected that the other party was taking the opportunity to scold him. By the way, Lord Blood Slaughter, what is the blood servant you mentioned later? Holy Lord Taichu asked with a flash of his eyes as he remembered the keywords just now. The so-called blood servants are low-level vampires who are reincarnated after being poisoned by blood. The operation steps are simple, as long as you bite someone else, but there is a prerequisite, that is, the target's cultivation level must be lower than yours. Shuitu sneered and said, what? You want to attack the people in the Holy Land and turn them into your blood servants? That's fine, the old bastard can lead a bunch of little bastards. But I want to remind you that although they will obey you in terms of will, the antidote needs to be given by you, that is, your blood, otherwise the blood servant will be in unbearable pain and go crazy. Hearing this, Holy Lord Taichu was so angry that he wanted to curse. He cursed Shuitu crazily in his heart, but on the outside he forced a smile and said, Master Shuitu, you are joking. I will keep your teachings in mind and be careful. Well, that's best. Over there in the East region, my clone will take care of it for you. If you have nothing to do, just step back. Shuitu ordered in a tone of voice. Yes, little one, please step aside. After Holy Lord Taichu thanked him respectfully, he turned around and the smile disappeared from his face, becoming as gloomy as rain. Looking at the other person's disappearing back, a sarcastic smile appeared on the corner of Shuitu's mouth, and he said disdainfully, "What an old bastard." After saying that, he submerged into the blood pool again. Chapter 257. C257 Damn amazing. At this time, a team of 30,000 immortals marched across many places in the central territory with great awe under the eyes of countless people. Not long after, they arrived at the eastern region. Rumble. The originally clear sky was immediately eclipsed. Sand and rocks flew all the way, and yellow sand filled the sky. A terrifying pressure filled the surrounding void. In an instant, the vegetation was silent, and the birds and animals were trembling in fear. The figures of 30,000 immortals appeared, filled with sacred immortal energy, surrounded by bright immortal light, colorful and extremely spectacular from a distance. The clothes they wear are iconic and can be distinguished from which sect they come from. Among them, Wuji Dao sect has the largest number of immortals, which shows the sect's rich heritage. It's no wonder that they can become the leader of the 8 Dao sects. Tisk, is this the eastern region? The concentration of immortal energy in this world cannot be compared with that in our central region. It seems like the Red Devil escaped here, so there won't be much room for improvement. The Red Demon who was in the Megatron Central region back then has ended up in such a miserable state. It's so sad. This group of immortals from the 7th Avenue sect walked over the Eastern Territory, with pride in their brows. Their words were full of contempt for the Eastern Territory, and they also felt disdain for the target of the crusade. In their opinion, no matter how powerful the Red Devil was back then, but now he is forced to flee to a place like this to recuperate his energy. Even if he comes back one day, how much trouble can he cause in the Central Territory? Seeing this, I am even more sure that Kangming Dao sect's remarks are pure fart. If the Red Devil were to stand in front of me now, I would probably kill him with one punch without the need for fellow Daoists to take action. Yang Wei, the leader of Luli Dao sect, gently twirled his mustache and said proudly. What sect Master Yang said is absolutely true. Shu Boqi, the sect master of Qianyuan Dao sect next to him, was wearing a brown robe and had a square face full of smiles. Suddenly, he remembered something and said contemptuously, speaking of Kangming Dao sect, I don't know what the man named Yi thinks. Funerals have been held these days. This show of hypocrisy is too much. Quote. For these days, because of Yi Wusheng's performance, Kangming Dao sect's upper-class circles in the central region have long been a joke. Hearing this, several other sect leaders looked strange. Because the other party's behavior is really contrary to common sense. You could say that he valued love and righteousness, and I thought there was something strange about it, but you could say that he was too timid to show up, but they only lacked the seats to hold a funeral. It's quite contradictory. Fellow Daoists, based on my understanding of Yi Wusheng, he doesn't seem like someone who would bother with such trivial matters. I can't force him to do this unless it's for something more important. Qin Shou, the leader of the Haoyu Dao sect, said in a deep voice. There was a crescent moon mark between his eyebrows, which was silvery white and sometimes flashed with bright light. Haha, does this old boy think that we can't defeat the Red Devil with our strength? Yang Wei sneered. The other sect leaders looked at each other and shook their heads. It was obvious that they all thought this statement was ridiculous. At that time, the Red Demon's cultivation was that of a top-level true immortal, and with his rare combat power, he was able to make waves in the central region. Later, he relied on secret methods to escape forcefully. At least this would lead to a decline in his realm, right? Even though they have had some adventures in the past few years and returned to their heyday, times have changed. Top-level true immortals are no longer rare. There are now 2,000 to 3,000 in their ranks. What's more, their 7 sect masters are all of the same level of heavenly cultivation. Just pick one of them and you can sweep across the Eastern Territory. In this situation, how could he not be able to defeat the Red Demon? Hang it up and fight in a few minutes. Sect leader Yi is indeed offering condolences to Elder Wei. I can vouch for this. Fellow Daoists, please stop making unreasonable comments about him. Suddenly, Feng Qingyang spoke with a majestic face. These days, the spies he placed in the Kangming Dao sect came to report. Yi Wusheng knelt at the funeral from beginning to end, expressing deep condolences for Elder Wei's portrait. It's so affectionate and touching. Oh, the other sect leaders looked slightly sideways, with surprise in their eyes. Could it be that they really use their villain's heart to judge the gentleman's heart? Since the leader of the Wuji Dao sect personally guaranteed it, they could not continue to delve deeper into this topic. Swish swish swish. During this period, the 7 sect masters released huge spiritual consciousness, sweeping in all directions like a storm. When they saw the towering 100,000 immortal mountains, the expressions on their faces were startled, and then they showed greedy and fiery expressions. Wonderful! I didn't expect that there would be such an opportunity in the eastern region. Yang Wei, the leader of Luli Dao sect, said with a smile while stroking his hands. So many fairy mountains are bound to contain rich resources. It seems that the monks here are not blessed to have enough. Another sect master said meaningfully. Feng Qingyang quickly calmed down and said in a deep voice, "We will discuss this later. Don't forget the purpose of our trip." He thought that a while ago, Holy Lord Xuantian specially sent people to the eastern region. If the other party also knew the existence of the 100,000 immortal mountains, it was still unknown whether the 7 Dao sect could get involved. Master Feng still sees clearly. Shu Boqi, the leader of the Qianyuan Dao sect, said in a complimentary tone. Yes, yes, the other sect leaders nodded in agreement. After all, among their group, Feng Qingyang was the leader, so they naturally wanted to please him. Before that, find someone to ask for directions, determine the direction, and concentrate on surrounding them to prevent the red demon from escaping. Feng Qingyang's tone contained murderous intent. This time he was determined to avenge his dead son. Everyone, I feel that there is a sect in the northwest, and the monks there must know about it. Walk, boom, this impressive team of immortals quickly approached the Xuanji sword sect. Fuck, feeling the arrival of countless terrifying auras, the monks of the Xuanji sword sect were so frightened that their hairs stood up, and their eyes showed half astonishment and half fear. Was there any mistake? The immortals these days all appear in groups. Huh, tell me, Feng Qingyang spoke with stern eyes and a majestic face. However, before he finished speaking, he was directly interrupted by the next sentence. You can reach Xuantian sect by walking 80 million miles south. You're welcome, go. Feng Qingyang, holy shit, how do you know what I'm going to ask? You predict the future. Several other sect leaders were also shocked. They didn't expect that a big boss in this small sword cultivator sect could figure out their intentions. Feng Qingyang forced down the surprise and doubt in his heart, bowed his hands and saluted, "Thank you, fellow Taoist." He didn't even finish his words, and people knew his purpose. It's so amazing. After all, no matter where he is, such a fortune teller who can predict divination and make accurate predictions is worthy of respect. Let's go to Xuantian sect. Feng Qingyang waved his hand, and the immortals rushed to their destination in a hurry. Looking at the direction of disappearance, Shui Wuan stood on the top floor of the sword pavilion, his stern face twitching slightly. This scene looks inexplicably familiar. But that's not the point. The point is, why do you outsiders come to me to ask for directions? Is that too much? The depressed Shui Wuan thought about it and decided to issue an order. Come here, build me a sign, write the location of Xuantian sect, and hang it on the top so that everyone can see it. Chapter 258. C258 Good Death. Rumble. Not long after, the Immortal Alliance rushed all the way to Wangzhou, releasing a monstrous immortal power that overwhelmed the creatures along the way. Seeing Xuantian sect getting closer and closer, the anger in Feng Qingyang's eyes was burning. He could no longer contain the murderous intention in his heart and roared. Red demon Red Chenny, get out and die. The roar was like rolling thunder, exploding in the vast sky and echoing across mountains and rivers thousands of miles away. What's going on? The heads of countless monks were buzzing, their hearts were trembling with fear, and a look of shock flashed in their eyes. Oh my god, that guy is actually calling Hong Chenny to die. He is Senior Yi's great disciple. Does he not want his life? I find it very strange. He keeps saying that he wants the Red Devil to die, but what does it have to do with the Red Fairy? Fellow Taoist, this is your top understanding. Xuantian sect. Faced with the pressure of tens of thousands of immortals, many disciples and elders were shocked, but after hearing the shouts, their expressions showed strange expressions. Are you serious? It's still too late to turn around and run. Boom. At this moment, the Immortal Coalition surrounded Xuantian sect to ensure that the target would not take the opportunity to escape. In their opinion, if they have anything to do with the Red Demon, all the monks of the Xuantian sect will suffer. After all, it's a disguised magic door. I would rather kill by mistake than let go. Yang Wei, the leader of Luli Dao sect, smiled proudly, haha, these ants must be very scared now. But why do I feel that their eyes are a bit weird? Shu Boqi, the leader of the Qianyuan Dao sect, frowned, inexplicably feeling that the eyes of the Xuantian sect monks were full of pity when they looked at them. Strangeness. According to normal circumstances, wouldn't he have a face full of panic, scream uncontrollably, or even faint and fall to the ground? What's going on now? Could it be a scam? Feng Qingyang's eyes were like the sun shining brightly across the sky, and he said with a murderous look on his face, "Red Demon Hong Chenny, I know you are hiding here, get out and die." The roar was deafening, causing ripples in the void. On Piaomiao Peak, at noon, Yi Junlin was enjoying a steaming bowl of noodles. The noodles were very chewy and had just the right texture. The soup was mushroom soup, which was full of delicious flavor. He had noticed the arrival of the Immortal Alliance army very early, but remained unmoved, because with these people, how could eating noodles be important? Moreover, he could hear the shouting just now clearly. It was obvious that his eldest disciple's enemies came to visit him. "Senior brother Hong, I'm here to find you," Li Wuji said curiously. Hong Chenny calmly put down her chopsticks and said to the silver-haired young man, "Master, I will deal with it now. Go back quickly, the noodles won't taste good if they get cold." "Yes." Hong Chenny stood up and looked around at the tens of thousands of immortals surrounding Xuantian sect, her beautiful red and phoenix eyes showing a hint of joking. At this scale, if it were in the past, he would definitely die. But now, hee. At this time, Feng Qingyang was just about to continue shouting when a familiar figure in red appeared in his field of vision. Just like in the memory, it is unparalleled and hard to find in the world. "The Red Devil appears!" Exclamations came one after another from all directions. Countless eyes were focused on this former legendary devil. "My God, he has become even more beautiful," a middle-aged man said infatuatedly. "Ahem, watch your stance." A companion nearby pretended to cough and reminded him. It is true that they mobilized troops to attack Hong Chenny, but after seeing Hong Chenny appear again, they almost fell into this heavenly appearance. Compared to many years ago, the other party's appearance and temperament are even more outstanding. If we return to the central region, we will attract a large number of idiot fans again, right? Feng Qingyang narrowed his eyes slightly, a sharp light flashed in his eyes, and said coldly, "Red Devil, you finally took the initiative to come out and die." Hong Chenny sneered. "I remember you, the leader of the Wuji Dao sect. Your son died in my hands." These words were like a knife stabbing into Feng Qingyang's heart. Feng Qingyang's eyes were instantly bloodshot, and the anger in his chest was burning. He said in a cold voice, "It was you who crushed my Fenger to ashes. Red Devil, you have such a poisonous heart." When he heard the news at that time, it was like 5 thunders struck him. Even now, he hates the person who did it. Hong Chenny said disdainfully, "You didn't control your son's mouth. He went around talking and having fun outside. He deserves this end." You know, he was already a true immortal at that time, and he was recognized as the supreme giant in the devil's way. But that boy was just in the realm of tribulation. He had the support of a powerful father behind him, so he dared to criticize him. Hong Chenny knows that some people like oral pleasure, but since they have oral pleasure, they have to bear the price of oral pleasure. Therefore, he personally took action, captured the guy, tortured him with the most cruel methods until he breathed his last breath, and then burned him to ashes with fairy fire. The whole process was very comfortable. Thinking of the tragic situation and pain before his son's death, Feng Qingyang almost lost control of his emotions. He was so angry that his whole body was shaking and his facial muscles were trembling. He held it in his mouth for a long time before shouting out. "He is still a child." The tone was tearful and grief-stricken. Hong Chenny fell into silence. I recalled in my mind the tall man who was nearly fat as a ball, had a mustache, and had a somewhat wretched appearance. The corners of Hong Chenny's mouth twitched a few times. "Is this still a child? Are you sure? Master Feng, please don't be so angry. This must be a trick of the Red Demon, deliberately irritating you." "That's right, the enemy is right in front of you anyway, and you can get rid of it at any time. The right time, right place, right people, he can't escape." Several sect leaders said one after another. Feng Qingyang closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes again, 2 beams of bright white light shot out. "Red Devil, times have changed. Do you still think you can be as invincible as you were back then? Today I will avenge my son." After saying that, Feng Qingyang raised his right hand and surrounded it with fairy light, revealing a pair of majestic cyan metal gloves. After the abundant fairy power was injected into it, the gloves burst out with terrifying energy. Aha! A large ball of black wind rose up from his hand. The black wind was entangled with terrifying thunder and lightning. It was extremely powerful and could blow thousands of miles of mountains and rivers into powder. Die to me, Feng Qingyang shouted loudly. He is a 5th level immortal, and he is full of confidence. Coupled with his special skills and the increase of immortal weapons, he has the feeling that he can suppress the red demon and vent his anger by raising his hand. Certainly, this is just his illusion. Hong Chenny flicked her fingers lightly, and a red finger light that looked like a horse shot out with terrifying force, easily scattering the black wind. Bang! Feng Qingyang felt as if he had been struck by lightning, with traces of blood spilling from the corners of his mouth, and his eyes showed horror. Your strength. His full blow was easily turned into nothing. Is there any mistake? In the past, I could suppress you with one hand, but now I only need one finger. Hong Chenny's eyes were playful and she said with a mocking tone. You're right, times have changed. Boom. The next second, a powerful cultivation aura erupted, and suddenly it was like a huge mountain pressing down on everyone, making them almost breathless. Feng Qingyang's eyes widened in shock, as if a cold air was rushing straight into the sky, causing chills all over his body, and the blood in his body was as cold as ice. He never expected that this big devil turned out to be from the Xuanxian realm. In a place like this, you can grow to such an extent. Is this reasonable? Hiss, hiss, hiss. The sound of gasps could be heard all around. The immortals of the 7th Avenue sect were stunned, as if they had been hit hard on the head, and their heads were dizzy. The red demon who escaped from the central region has reached this level. An ordinary Xuanxian can kill tens of thousands of celestial immortals, not to mention that there are only 7 celestial immortals here, and the rest are real immortals. How to fight this battle? Damn it, it turns out that the reason why old Thief Yi didn't come is because he already knew the strength of the Red Devil and deliberately tricked us into coming here to die. Shu Boqi reacted and said with an angry expression. The other sect leaders were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Together with the old thief, they were all tricked. No wonder the Kangming Dao sect has been holding funerals and refuses to come forward. It turns out that it is waiting for the 7th Dao sect to go and die. This move is cruel and damaging. Master Feng, how about we? Yang Wei was sweating profusely, and he felt like shrinking in his heart, because he felt like an ant in front of the figure in red. Feng Qingyang broke out in cold sweat on his forehead, feeling in a dilemma. After a moment, Feng Qingyang squeezed out a stiff smile on his face, cupped his hands and said, Red Leader, it was all a joke just now, please don't take it to heart. Suddenly, everyone was dumbfounded. What is this called? The battle hasn't officially started yet. Will the general surrender first? But when I think about the difference in strength, I suddenly feel that it is understandable. Hong Chenny sneered. Aren't you going to avenge your child? Why did you change your mind? Feng Qingyang's eyes were firm and he said solemnly, that treacherous son offended the Red Cult Master, and it was entirely his own fault. It's a good death. In fact, his heart was bleeding and it hurt. That's right, Master Feng's son deserves to die. It would be a pity to die for offending Master Hong. Yes, yes. Several other sect leaders quickly agreed and acted quickly. Feng Qingyang's facial muscles twitched and he looked at them silently. I scolded my son. What's wrong with you? Chapter 259. C259 Feng Qingyang, you are really dogs. Feng Qingyang was very angry, but the situation was special, so he could only hold back. As a result, these guys became more and more excited, spitting everywhere. This scum, it's good to die. It's wonderful to die, it's a great death. What a bastard, if his father doesn't educate him well, someone will teach him when he's away from home. If it were me, I would chop that kid up and feed him to the dog, and then feed him after the dog is pulled out. Master Feng, you are stupid, you should have shot this kind of garbage at the wall at that time. So that he won't cause trouble in the future. Listening to all kinds of insults in his ears, Feng Qingyang's forehead was bulging with veins, the muscles at the corners of his eyes were twitching wildly, and his breathing became heavier. Suddenly, an uncontrollable anger burst out. Feng Qingyang's eyes were bloodshot, and he roared in a broken defense, shut up. Quote. The roar was like a thunderclap. The expressions on the faces of the sect leaders were dull, and they were obviously frightened. Yang Wei was the first to react. He pointed at the furious Feng Qingyang with one hand, turned his head and shouted to Hong Chenny as if complaining, Master Hong, look at his attitude. He obviously has something against us. As long as you say a word, we will immediately teach him a lesson for you. Shu Bo said righteously. That's right, I hope Master Hong will be magnanimous. We were also bewitched by the old thief Feng. It was he who issued the demon-killing order without knowing what was good for him. It was all his fault. Master Hong is blessed with great fortune. My 6 major sects will follow your lead. In the future, when you rule the central region, you will surely be the popular choice. Please show mercy, Master Hong. Quote, the other 6 sect leaders were afraid of not performing well, so they rushed to praise and belittle him, and drew a clear line with Feng Qingyang, and threw all the dirty water on him. They just hoped that Hong Chenny could spare their lives. There was no other way. This was the difference in strength. In their eyes, the leader of the fire-worshipping demon cult had become a force to be reckoned with. Even if the 4 holy places joined forces, they might not be able to contend with him, let alone the mere Dao sect. In a word, the central region was about to change. The previous face and integrity had to be thrown away. Behind his head, if he wanted to survive, he had to take this opportunity to hug a new thigh. The Dao sect elders around him were timid and dared not speak, their cheeks burning, feeling ashamed of their leader's shameless behavior. But in order to survive, they were all silent. The figure in red seemed to be suspended in the middle of the encirclement, but in fact, it had already radiated the threat of death to everyone. At this time, anyone who dared to act rashly would be killed. Even if they were more in number, what would it matter? In the eyes of the other party, they were not. It's like a moth flying into a flame. At this moment, Feng Qingyang's eyes widened, his face turned liver-colored, and he pointed at these people with a trembling hand. Even if he had thousands of words in his heart, at this moment, they were stuck in his throat and he couldn't say anything. I, Feng, may not be a human, but you are really dogs. Hee. Hong Chenny crossed his arms with a playful smile on his face. He didn't care about the surrender of Yang Wei and the other 6 people at all, he just wanted to enjoy this dog-eat-dog drama. Suddenly, the wind was blowing hard, ghosts were howling. In the void, a bloody vortex was formed instantly, with red lightning interweaving on the surface of the vortex, and the sound of wind and thunder was roaring. A tall figure stepped out, with a pair of protruding flesh wings on his back, like the wings of a devil, his hair was flying in the wind, his face was extremely thin, and his skin was sickly pale. The sharp and cold-blood red eyes, with 3 parts of teasing and 7 parts of greed, scanned the whole scene as if looking at prey. Tisk tisk, it's quite lively. The hoarse voice sounded like the devil's whisper, suddenly ringing in everyone's ears. Who is this? Quote, Hong Chenny narrowed his eyes slightly, his eyebrows throbbing. This is a feeling that only comes with facing a great enemy. He felt very strange. How come he had never seen a top-level strongman of this level in the central region before? And looking at this appearance, it is obvious that he is not a human, but he does not look like a demon. After scanning around, Shui Tu's eyes stopped on Hong Chenny, and a strong interest appeared in his eyes, and then turned into a strong greed. Your blood must be delicious. Hearing this, Hong Chenny frowned, as if he was stared at by an unknown monster, and his hair stood up slightly. Judging from his intuition, this guy is very evil. Seeing this, Yang Wei, the leader of Luli Dao sect, seemed to take the opportunity to show off, stretched out his finger and pointed, and shouted at Shui Tu. Asshole, where did the demon come from? Dare to be so rude to the leader Hong. Quote. After saying this, Yang Wei felt good about himself and was proud of his wit. Maybe if he performed well, he could go back alive. Who knew that Shui Tu turned his head and glared at him, with a fierce light in his eyes, looking for death. Bang! Before Yang Wei could react, his whole body exploded into a large ball of bright red blood mist. Sect Master. The elders of Luli Dao sect were all crying out in grief, with deep fear in their eyes. The other sect masters were so scared that they didn't know what to do, staring blankly at this scene. A celestial fairy-level strongman was just stared to death like this. The most terrifying thing is, the ball of blood mist that Yang Wei exploded into seemed to be pulled by an invisible force and quickly floated into the mouth and nose of the mysterious man. Hong Chenny was very surprised. The cultivation aura revealed by the other party just now was far higher than his, and had exceeded the boundary of Xuanxian. Could it be that this was a powerful immortal king? Not enough, not enough. After Shui Tu absorbed it, he licked his lips with a scarlet tongue, and a strange red light flashed in his eyes, which made people shudder. You low-class livestock, all become my blood food. Boom! A majestic blood-red light column suddenly erupted, and the terrifying aura spread in all directions like a wave. Not good. Feng Qingyang and the others wanted to escape, but they were horrified to find that they had no power to resist at all. They were shrouded in the blood-colored light column, and their bodies instantly turned into pools of blood. Ah! The immortals of the 7 major sects also screamed in the strange blood-colored light, with despair on their faces. This group of central domain cultivators never thought that this grand expedition to the east to kill demons would end with the death of a man with a mysterious identity. The blood covered the sky and the sun, and the scene was very terrifying. Swish, the blood formed by tens of thousands of immortals gathered into a blood river and rushed in the air. Shui Tu opened his mouth, revealing his sharp fangs, his fierce appearance, and his eyes were excited. Hualala, this river of blood was sucked into his mouth, just like a whale swallowing water, very cruel. Soon, the expanding blood-colored light column gradually disappeared. The scene of immortals in the sky disappeared, as if Feng Qingyang and the others had never appeared. But the thick bloody smell in the air revealed that a brutal massacre had just happened. At this moment, Shui Tu was savoring the deliciousness of blood and enjoying this wonderful feeling. Now he has a very picky appetite, and only the blood of immortal creatures can satisfy his needs. And the immortal coalition organized by the 7 major sects is a sumptuous meal for him. Very good, this trip was indeed not in vain. Suddenly, Shui Tu seemed to have noticed something and looked in the direction of the source of the breath, his strange red eyes revealed surprise. A broken flame shield came into view, and Hong Chenyi's figure could be vaguely seen. You know, anyone who is covered by the blood-colored light column, as long as they are below the level of Immortal Lord, will normally turn into blood. This person is just a small Xuanxian, how can he withstand his attack? The next second, Hong Chenyi waved his hand to remove the flame shield, and deep fear appeared in his eyes. Through the killing move just now, he confirmed his judgment at this time that the other party was a serious Immortal Lord level strongman. Such a powerful alien creature deliberately came here to kill indiscriminately, which made him feel that there was something strange. How many strong men of this level are hidden in the central region? Hong Chenyi's eyes kept changing. I thought that if I went back again, I would definitely become the strongest man in the central region, but now it seems that things are far beyond his expectations. The water in the central region has become very deep. Xuantian sect, the cultivators, scalps were numb and they were stunned by the sudden change. As the spectators, they did not expect a strange man to appear halfway and directly swallow the blood of tens of thousands of immortals. It can be said to be extremely cruel. Master, look, senior brother Hong seems to be in trouble. Li Wuji stretched out his finger and said in surprise. Yi Junlin used chopsticks to pick up a fish ball and threw it into his mouth, chewing it with relish. At the same time, he also noticed the change in the situation and was very interested in this mysterious man who suddenly appeared and started killing. Tongzi, is this a vampire? Yi Junlin looked at the image characteristics of Shui Tu and asked suddenly. Ding, reply to the host, strictly speaking, this is the Undead Blood Clan, from one of the oldest clans in Juyu, and the ancestral star is the Blood Source Realm. Close black lens bracket. The playful voice of the system sounded. Juyu. Catching this keyword, Yi Junlin's eyes flickered, thinking of the origin of Juyu that he had learned from Lu Wangshu, the supreme master of formation. There are 2 super camps in the universe, namely Shenting and Juyu. Kunlun realm was the second largest world in Shenting before, with a very high status. Later, the star core was polluted by the strong man named Luan, and the whole world went into decline. In the crisis, the Juyu coalition took advantage of the situation to attack Kunlun realm, but because of their cleverness, they were washed away by the river of death and suffered heavy losses. Now, as a big clan in the Juyu camp, the Undead Blood Clan actually sent strong men to sneak into Kunlun realm secretly. While thinking, looking at the pair of flesh wings protruding from the back of Shui Tu, covered with blood-red blood vessels, Yi Junlin frowned and said with disdain. Tisk, this doesn't taste good at first glance. At an altitude of 10,000 meters. Shui Tu didn't know that he had been disliked by a foodie. His black hair was flying wildly, his face was evil, his bloodthirsty eyes stared at the red-clothed figure, and he sneered, you, the human race, are quite interesting. Judging from his intuition, if he could suck the blood of this person, there would be an unexpected surprise. Put away your disgusting face for me. Hong Chenyi's face was as beautiful as jade, with his hands behind his back, standing in the air as if walking on flat ground, his clothes fluttering and confronting the evil figure in front of him from a distance. Feeling the murderous intent locked on him, Hong Chenyi was not afraid, but a desire to fight emerged in his heart. He really wanted to know what level his strength had reached. What about the Immortal King? If you want to fight, then fight. $window. _Taboola equals window. _Taboola. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, Taboola below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 260, C260 Who is the monster? Despicable human race, how dare you speak to me like this? Shui Tu's eyes were filled with fierceness, and he reached out his palm and grabbed it hard. Aha! In the void, a big blood-colored hand was condensed, containing immortal lord-level energy fluctuations and exuding a disgusting smell of blood. The blood-red color occupies the entire field of vision, and the clear texture of the palm can be seen. Feeling the surging pressure, Hong Chenny kneaded the secret with one hand calmly, and pointed her green and slender jade fingers at the big bloody hand. Buzzing, circles of red ripples rippled out from the fingertips, just like huge ripples caused by a boulder falling on a lake. The surrounding temperature increased sharply, as if reaching the bottom of magma. Boom! The big bloody hand encountered a fierce obstacle and fought against the circle of red ripples. After a while, it showed a fragmented scene. What? Shui Tu's expression changed drastically, because through the brief fight just now, he finally knew the reason why Hong Chenny was so powerful. The quality of your immortal power is actually the legendary 7th grade. The voice he shouted was almost broken. Shui Tu's face was full of shock, and his heart felt like a turbulent wave. What is this concept? The quality of immortal power reaches level 7. Under normal circumstances, only the immortal emperor has this qualification. Among the immortal vampires, there are only a handful of people who can cultivate their immortal power to this level, and their identities are all at the ancestor level. But now, this Xuanxian-level human race has reached the 7th level of immortal power. This is the first time he has seen this unprecedented phenomenon. Hong Chenny sneered. It seems that you are nothing more than that. The opponent's cultivation level was that of the immortal lord 9th level, and he was able to fight against him as a newly promoted immortal. This was all due to his 7th grade immortal power that was arrogant among the others. The higher the quality of the immortal power, the stronger the spellcaster will be. Shuitu suppressed the shock in his heart, opened the corners of his mouth in an exaggerated arc, and stared straight at Hong Chenny. Haha, I really found a treasure today. The blood of people like you is even more delicious than the average fairy king. If it can successfully absorb the opponent's essence and blood, the body can quickly recover the lost vitality and reach the critical point of the rules of this world. That is, the top-level immortal king. Seeing the undisguised greed and desire in the man's eyes, Hong Chenny frowned in disgust, feeling physically disgusted and disgusted. Just you, Hong Chenny waved her hand. Roaring black flames emerged in the void, containing destructive energy that burned all things, as well as a certain ancient aura that had passed through the years. 8 desolate mysterious fires. The 8 wilderness mysterious fires gathered into 9 fierce and powerful fire dragons, and they charged towards the blood slaughter with bared fangs and claws. The dragon's roar was extremely high-pitched, resounding through the sky for thousands of miles. Arrogant, so what if you have 7th grade immortal power? Your cultivation is shallow now. Am I still unable to suppress you? Shui Tu shouted angrily, raised his hand high above his head, and a blood-colored spear filled with the aura of death condensed. When it is grasped in the hand, the bloody light shines brightly, like a bloody sun across the sky. Aha! Shui Tu had a majestic figure, holding a blood-colored spear, and attacked the 9 black fire dragons with great momentum. Boom! The 9 churning fire dragons fought against the blood but were quickly penetrated one by one. Flames filled the sky and burned thousands of miles of void. Now you, Shui Tu held a spear in his hand, flapped the flesh wings on his back, and turned into a bloody stream of light and rushed towards Hong Chenny. True flame purple phoenix wings. Seeing the opponent's unrivaled speed, Hong Chenny was not afraid. She mobilized the surging immortal power in her body, and a pair of brilliant purple wings of true flame emerged behind her, which looked very gorgeous. Whoa! When he fluttered his wings and flew away, he rolled up the surging purple flame light and killed Shui Tu, who was stabbing him with a spear. Swish swish swish, the 2 figures struggled with each other, and the collision caused turbulent energy fluctuations. Although Shui Tu had an advantage in cultivation and was quick and accurate in his attacks, Hong Chenny was extremely strong, with a level 7 immortal power, and he also had rich combat experience, so he was not at a disadvantage for a while. If the difference between Xuanxian and Tianxian is the difference between hard rocks and fine sand, then the difference between Xuanxian and Xuanxian is the difference between the sea and lake. This gap is very huge. To be able to fight as a new Xuanxian to such an extent with a top-level immortal lord is a rare thing in the entire vast universe. What's more, Shui Tu is by no means an ordinary immortal lord, but a leader among the immortal lords. Even so, he can't suppress Hong Chenny. The more Shui Tu fought, the more frightened he became. He never thought that in this declining world, there would be such a rare and unparalleled talent. If left in the immortal vampire clan, they will definitely be cultivated as the first rank, and they are expected to reach the realm above the immortal emperor and achieve true transcendence. It's over. Hong Chenny could see that although he could compete on the surface, continuing the stalemate was not an option. He had to use absolute strength to break this balance point and kill this weirdo in one fell swoop. Swish! The two purple flame blades flew rapidly, mixed with gusts of wind and thunder, abruptly stopping Shui Tu's offensive. Afterwards, Hong Chenny quickly distanced herself, her hands immediately made a seal, her black hair fluttering, her beautiful face revealed a murderous intent, and she shouted coldly. Red Lotus Karmic Fire. This is one of the best fire-based techniques in the 3000 Flames Sutra. The reason why I couldn't use it before was because my level was too low. Now I rely on my strength comparable to that of the Immortal Lord to be qualified to touch the threshold. Boom! The sky and the earth were suddenly eclipsed, and a terrifying coercion instantly emerged. Unbridled violence spread, and the aura was extremely frightening. On the palm of Hong Chenny's raised hand, a flame shaped like a red lotus appeared. Each petal was crystal clear and flowing with blazing red luster. Death to me! Hong Chenny shot this spell towards Shui Tu. Whoa! The red lotus bloomed, spinning continuously in the air, containing the terrifying aura of destroying all living beings. This is... Shui Tu was frightened. At this moment, he was shocked by the world-destroying divine fire released by this man. After he reacted, he vigorously vibrated the pair of fleshy wings behind him, surrounding the blood-red light, trying to avoid it as quickly as possible. However, facing the surging red lotus karma fire, Shui Tu only felt that the pressure was extremely huge and he could not move even an inch. Not good. Between the lightning and flint, along with the deafening explosion, a large ball of destructive red fire bloomed in the sky. The light was so dazzling that countless monks in the deserted state could not look straight at it and were frightened. Hong Chenny stood tall, with an aloof temperament. Looking at the direction of the red lotus karma fire explosion, the light reflected the face that captivated all living beings, and the corners of her mouth curled up in a slightly complacent arc. Haha, I must be forced to take action. At this time, Hong Chenny felt a sense of accomplishment. After all, at this level, he could cross the realm and kill a top-level immortal king. It would be a lie to say he was not proud. As a result, when the fire gradually died out, Hong Chenny's smile froze on her face, and her pupils suddenly shrank into needles. This, window, _tabula equals window, _tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail -300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix,